Good afternoon, America. If you're on the East Coast, good morning if you're everywhere else. I'm Robert McNeely. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network on this Wednesday. It is January 14th, 2026, already flying through the new year. From day to day, lots of news, and what we saw at that Ford plant yesterday was really a great tour by President Trump to see American industry back at it in the Motor City as we last visited during the 100 Days celebration in late April, if you remember that broadcast, which started a slight feud with the individual on ABC known as Jimmy Kimmel. But that was a fun moment to watch America come back again as we await President Trump to participate in a full signing ceremony at the Oval Office, the West Wing of the White House, at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Look forward to that happening at approximately 2 o'clock Eastern. So stay tuned for that as we break down the news and a great speech yesterday by the President of the United States talking about the robust nature of bringing back American manufacturing, the American working class, a populist movement that was decried upon by the neoliberals and the neocons of the last 25 or 30 or so years here in the United States. Now, American workers win big as inflation remains low and wages surge. This, according to the White House. Yet another report confirms that President Trump has defeated the inflation crisis inherited from the Biden administration. While so-called experts speaking their piece continue to be proven wrong month after month. President Trump's powerful tariffs, massive tax cuts for working families, and sweeping deregulatory agenda has positioned our economy for a boom in 2026. In fact, Americans are seeing the results. Workers' wages are rising rapidly. Trillions of investments flowing into the country to create good-paying jobs, and economic growth is accelerating. That all according to White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, the superstar, as President Trump puts it, and a superstar indeed she is. Fresh economic data released today reaffirms the inflation is firmly under grasp and control as American workers see real wage gains in President Trump's economy. Well, here's what you need to know. Core inflation coming down in below economists' expectations. It's a more confident signal of cooling price growth after shutdown-related distortions and a convincing sign that inflation is on a downward path. This according to Bloomberg. President Trump ended the auto pen's inflation crisis. Since President Trump took office on January 20th of last year, headline inflation has been running at 2.4%. So that is much lower than the 3% annual rate inherited from Joe Biden. And core inflation has been running at that 2.4%, again, much lower than the 3.3 annual rate inherited from the last administration. Wages rising in real time for the American worker. Real private sector weekly earnings are on track to rise 4% in President Trump's first full year in office, resoundingly beating inflation. In fact, private sector workers are on track to see real wage gains of over $1,100, gaining back some of the purchasing power, again, that they lost over the 4 tumultuous years of Joseph R. Biden Jr., otherwise known as the auto pen, and blue-collar workers back in America, as we saw with the UAW resoundingly endorsing President Trump and his actions with tariffs. They're seeing real results. Overall, good producing workers, the backbone of the American economy, are on track to make their real annual earnings by an average of $1,300 in President Trump's first full year in office. Mining and logging workers on track to see an increase of $2,200. Construction workers, $1,400 increase in real wages. And construction workers, manufacturing workers, are on track to hit that $1,400 mark. So we're seeing this all come in real time as 43 states now under $3 a gallon for gasoline. And that's perhaps why you saw so many people hit the road this Thanksgiving, Christmas, and holiday season by far by car compared to plane, train, and automobile, it was at least 2/3 of Americans traveling by their automobiles. Now, they count those statistics as, I believe it's roughly 2 hours or so of a radius. So you can debate whether or not that's a far trip to see family. But by far, most Americans traveling over the holiday season by their car and having some relief at the gas pump. Now, cars are becoming more affordable as well. A highlight in President Trump's speech yesterday as well in the Motor City. The latest report shows vehicle prices continue to decline as President Trump's policy power automakers to make their best year since 2019 and pre-pandemic. Bloomberg's Chris Amnesty says, despite many analysts anticipating a bump up in the prices for the 2026 model year, in fact, automakers expected to do a lot more to pass along the tariff increase that just hasn't happened. So it's been extraordinary to watch all this as economists, right, left, and center, on all of network to cable news to those who do podcasts and those in the new media, really celebrating what's happening in this American economy as we're just getting started. And Secretary Bessent, if he did not have a busy year at Treasury last year, underway to have an even more busy one, considering his address to reporters from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and several other interviews where he said, just follow the money. So we got the mob. That's how we got evildoers and lawbreakers. That's what we'll do here with the Somali illegal alien fraud situation and the SNAP programs, the fraud, waste, and abuse that seemingly has now hit Minnesota to Maine, Ohio, Illinois, and interesting enough that Governor Gavin Newsom, just after his State of the State address this week in California, the Golden State, their government scrubbing daycare receipts, and perhaps there was some fraud tied into that. $19 billion that we know of, the state of Minnesota alone. So this might be the scandal of the year right off the top of the calendar year, thanks to people like Nick Shirley with an iPhone, a cameraman, and brave enough to ask those appropriate questions. It's really a remarkable thing to see the new media and some legacy items getting the truth out there for you. But we appreciate being your go-to live desk and your rally network as we prepare for the 2026 midterms, which is a big one, as in the House of Representatives, 47 announced retirements thus far. So you'll have new faces and incredible races to watch this upcoming midterm season. And as promised by Susie Wiles, the first female chief of staff, President Trump will be on the road campaigning for a number of these individuals. We look forward to covering it all here for you on the right side of history. Now, yesterday you might have missed a 7-minute press gaggle before the trip aboard Air Force One. And if we have that, Mr. Producer, if we have that ready to play back for the viewers, we can toss that there right now.
Introduced today. We had a wonderful speech in front of great people in Detroit, mostly in the car business, and we're setting records in manufacturing. It's going very well. I think people appreciated what I had to say in terms of the numbers, so we're very happy about that. I'm going back to the White House now. We're going to look at the whole situation that's going on in Iran, really bad stuff. And Minnesota's going to have to take care of itself for a little while. We have tremendous theft and fraud going on in that state because you have an incompetent governor, grossly incompetent governor, and a corrupt governor. But we'll straighten that out. But Iran is on my mind when I see the kind of death that is happening over there, we think. So we're going to get some accurate numbers. I'll have it in about 20 minutes. We'll get some accurate numbers as to what's happening with regard to the killing. The killing looks like it's significant, but we don't know yet for certain. I'll know within 20 minutes. So, and we'll act accordingly.
How can you ensure that U.S. airstrikes, if it comes to that, will have the result of protecting the protesters?
Well, you never know, do you? You never know.
Do you think it's
So far, my track record's been excellent, but you never know.
do you think it's going to be something kinetic like that, or more like cyber? Or
Well, I can't tell you that. I know exactly what it would be. We have to make a decision.
Sir,
But I can't be. Obviously, I can't be
Do you have
telling
a
you.
timeline? Yeah, timeline.
Sir, Jamie Dimon said today that it's not a great idea to be chipping away at the Fed's independence. Do you think Jamie Dimon's wrong about that?
Yeah, I think it's fine what I'm doing. We have a bad Fed person. He was extended by Biden, and yeah, I think he's wrong. I think it's wrong. He's done a bad job. We should have lower rates. Jamie Dimon probably wants higher rates. Maybe he makes more money that way.
Mr. President, Jamie Dimon also was talking about the 10% credit card. The House Speaker said that it could have negative side effects if it was imposed through Congress. Are you concerned about that? Have you talked to the
No,
House
I'm
Speaker
not. I think that
about-
people that are paying 28% interest should be protected. We're talking about for a one-year period, but when you have a bank, whether it's Jamie Dimon or anybody else, charging people 28, 32%, 30%, 31%, one case 35%, no, I'll help those people. That's all right. It's a 1 year, 10%. Let the people have a break.
In your speech, you said that you're going to be cutting off funding for sanctuary cities on February 1st.
That's right.
What kind of funding?
You'll see. It'll be significant.
Full
President,
funding?
on healthcare, is there something that you can do with insurance companies to bring down premiums like you're doing with credit
Yeah, I'm
cards?
going to meet with the insurance companies, but I want the money to go directly to the people. It's very simple. Into a healthcare savings account, but directly to the people so the people can buy their own healthcare.
On Thursday will be the 6-year anniversary of you signing the Phase 1 trade deal with China, the signature on it. Would that deal open Chinese markets to U.S. goods? It protected intellectual property. Can we get back to that?
Yeah, we can. We're doing very well with China. Have a great relationship with President Xi, as you obviously know. We're doing really well. We're making a lot of money with China.
Can you open their markets to U.S. goods? Can
I
you get
think
there?
so, yeah. I think it's going to happen.
Mr. President, Iran says that it will retaliate in the instance of U.S. strikes against U.S. assets in the Middle East. What do you say to U.S. service members about why it is worth the risk to intervene in Iran?
Yeah, Iran said that the last time I blew him up with the nuclear capability, which they don't have any longer. So Iran said that the last time. They better behave.
The Intel stock is really high after you invested. Are you going to invest more in Intel?
I like it. So, well, I don't know about Intel, but I'll invest more in other things.
What other companies?
As you know, Intel came to see me. They needed help. And I said, I'll help you, but I want 10% of your company to go to the United States of America. And we made, because of that deal, tens of billions of dollars. The stock went very up and very high, and we made tens of billions of dollars. They walked away and they gave us a lot of money, but they did a great deal for themselves because their stock has gone up. As soon as we went in, Apple went in, NVIDIA went in, a lot of smart people went in, they followed us. So yeah, we're doing that. We've done other of those deals. In Alaska, we did a deal where we got a big piece of a company where we were helping them to get a road. We're the only ones that could have done it. And we said we want something out of the company for the United States of America, okay? So I believe in that. We have some other ones that we're looking at. I believe in that. If it's up to us, if they can't do it without us, and then I say, well, we'll do it. If you were a private guy, you'd say, what do we get for doing it? Now, I don't want anything for myself. I want our country to be rich as hell. But with Intel, we made billions and billions of dollars, right?
So, Mr. President, on Iran, do you have a message for the leaders currently of Iran?
Yeah, the message is they've got to show humanity. They've got a big problem, and I hope they're not going to be killing people. And I'm going to have a report very soon. It would seem to me that they have been badly misbehaving, but that is not confirmed.
Sir, you mentioned the 1980 hostage rescue effort that ended in disaster.
Well, it was a disaster for Jimmy Carter. They had all sorts of problems, and the helicopters were crashing and everything. You know what it was? The exact opposite of Venezuela. Do you agree with that? Do you agree? As a reporter, who are you with? Who are you with?
I'm with the Financial Times, sir.
Oh, good. What's a nice paper?
So are you committing not to sending U.S. troops into Iran?
Why
the
would
way
I tell
Jimmy
you that?
Carney did?
Why would
Mr.
I?
Carter says.
Mr. President,
I don't talk about military strategy with a reporter, you know?
Mr. President.
Even though I do like the Financial Times.
Are you consulting with our allies regarding Iran? What are they telling you, and why do you think the
Well,
Iranian...
I'm not going to tell you what they're telling me.
Why do you think the Iranian leadership continues to defy you, Mr. President?
You think they are?
Well,
it's only
they don't
been a
seem to
couple
be
of
reacting.
days.
They continue to kill protesters.
Well, they said that about Venezuela, too, you know? It's only been a couple of days. They haven't defied me. They haven't done anything as far as we're concerned. But it looks like they're killing a lot of people, but it has not been confirmed. I'll know very soon.
On Greenland, sir, the premier of Greenland said today, we prefer to stay with Denmark. Do you see that as the
Who
final
said
word?
that?
The premier of Greenland.
Well, that's their problem. That's their problem. I disagree with them. I don't know who he is. Don't know anything about him. But that's going to be a big problem for him.
Do you want to see democracy in Iran?
Ideally, you'd like to see it, but what we want to see is we don't want to see people killed, and we want to see a little bit of freedom for these people. These people have been living in hell for a long time. You know, that used to be a hell of a country. I have friends that used to invest in Iran, and they did well with their investments. It was a great place. The people were great. Even the leadership was good. And now it's living in hell. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Some great questions there yesterday by the White House press pool, and this president playing 4D chess as he should. And he does not need advice from yours truly by any means, but that is the art of the deal in real time as the Venezuelans, surprised by what took place, but you see celebrations happening around the world, from Chile to Madrid, Spain, right here in Doral, Florida, in the United States, just north of Miami. How many Venezuelans have come to the United States as a result of the communist dictatorship and the takeover of Hugo Chavez and his once vice premier, and now someone sitting in a jail cell in New York City, not far from Luigi Mangione. It's amazing how liberty and justice does work. We'll see what happens with Maduro and his wife, Ms. Flores, come the next hearing on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. All Family Pharmacy, helping how they change for people to get them life-saving pharmaceuticals. Very important this day and age, especially with cold and flu season. We'll, in fact, have a special tomorrow, a live special with our friends over at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN to talk about how important it is to access these life-saving medications when it comes to life-saving generics, off-labels, the right to try, and the most favored nation status. But the key is in the name, family, and that's what this great organization fights for most. So scan that QR code right there, right now, and get all of these 300 plus medications, from ivermectin to antibiotics, antivirals, maintenance medications, and NAD plus methylene blue, as the barriers found in traditional pharmacies are no longer the case with great online leading pharmacies like allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Instead of waiting weeks for appointments or long lines for urgent care, type in your order. You don't need insurance, no red tape, no bureaucracy, just a pharmaceutical note, and their U.S. licensed doctor on the other end will review and approve and send that right to your door in a matter of days. Receive these medications, again, directly to your door. Things like ivermectin to antibiotics, antivirals, Tamiflu. So very important this time of year in cold and flu season, especially as it spikes through January and February. This model is especially helpful for people who value convenience and who can get affordable generic labels for the right price. Code RSBN10, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, the pharmacy that supports your medical freedom. It's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Once again, RSBN10 is the code. I also like to take a moment to talk to you about our friends over at Monetary Gold. Scott Cheney leading the way in his Los Angeles, California office. We'll talk to him later today as well about well security preservation. Grab that complimentary presidential gold guide today, 888-617-7994. Ask how you can eliminate all your IRA fees permanently for life. RSBN forthegold.com. Call immediately to discover how you can eliminate those fees, and do not let that be a deterrent from obtaining a great plan to protect your financial future. With everything happening in the economy, a lot of people are looking for ways to protect what they've worked hard to build. And when it comes to physical gold and silver, choosing the right company is just as important as the metals themselves. And I'm telling you, there's no one better than our friends over at Monetary Gold. They're an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. It's because of their clarity, their honesty, their integrity, and their respect for their customers. They don't push gimmicks or overpriced special edition cards. No, the focus on real bullion tied to real market trends and the growth we've seen in gold and silver, especially over the course of the last calendar year. They take the time to explain your options clearly and do not pressure you in that moment. In fact, what do you have to lose? The complimentary presidential gold guide is the dollar declining in purchasing power by 40% in the last 2 decades, and BRICS nations like India, Russia, and China, which have been in the news a lot as President Trump seeking those tariffs on anyone, those countries specifically, who do business with the Iranian government. It's a reason why they're trying to divest from the dollar. So as you look at all of that, make sure gold and silver are part of your portfolio. It's not a one-size-fits-all, but rather sitting down and actually finding out your financial needs and your goals. RSBN forthegold.com. Please call my friend Scott Cheney out in California, 888-617-7994. If you're thinking about physical gold or silver, especially metals, IRA transfers, Monetary Gold is your place to be. And with all of that protection in your assets, your wealth, your security preservation, why not make a bet or two or a trade on the questions facing the United States of America, and a big weekend as we approach NFL football divisional series on Saturday and Sunday. 4 more games leading up to Championship Sunday on January 25th. Also, the College Football Championship. The Indiana Hoosiers, the Cinderella season now at 15-0. They could be the first team in the modern era to go 16-0. It's an exciting thing to think about, but they have quite an opponent that will be having a home game at the Hard Rock in Miami, Florida. Yes, Miami University, the University of Miami, in fact. The Hurricane ready to take on the Hoosiers. It's going to be a star-studded event on Monday, January 19th. What do you think will happen there? Scan that QR code for Kalshi.com/RSBN. It is sports, music, culture, politics, and much, much more. It's an exciting time in this golden era of America. You might as well trade and bet on it at Kalshi.com/RSBN. And we are covering all the latest from the Trump White House. And in roughly 97 minutes from now, the President of the United States, to hold that signing ceremony, will take you there live to the White House for those updates. In the meantime, we can go to True Social and see what President Trump is talking about. But in case you missed it, the oral arguments took a really interesting turn with Ketanji Brown Jackson, the latest SCOTUS appointment from President Joe Biden, seemingly defending transgender rights with cut number 1, Mr. Producer.
We're indifferent to a person's gender identity in applying the law.
But the law actually operates differently, I think, for cisgender women and transgender women. That is, with respect to their desire to play on a team that matches their gender identity, cisgender women can do it, transgender women cannot. And so we do appreciate a distinction, I think, that is being drawn on the basis of your gender status, gender identity status, trans or cis, right?
So, and I want to make sure I understand
Yes.
if we're operating in Title IX world or equal protection world, because I think it might make a difference to the answer. But
Okay. Let's start with Title IX.
So Title IX, I think the question of, I look at this statute and see a distinction between boy and girl indifferent to gender identity. And I think that...
Right, but I'm testing that proposition, right? You see that distinction, and I see it too on the separation of teams level at the beginning.
Right, and I think what I'm hearing is that distinction arises from a difference in effect, and I don't see a disparate impact analysis that's sort of hidden away in Title IX.
But why is that a difference in effect? So it's like a second order discrimination, right? The first order is separating male from female.
Right.
The second order is separating transgender women from cisgender women, right?
Respectfully, I would disagree.
No.
Science teaches us that there's two genders. It's biology class 101, male and female, made in the likeness and image of God. Even if you're a non-believer, this is basic biology. So it'll be interesting to see how that case turns out. We'll likely hear the ruling brought from Idaho in June. So we look forward to that continued session of the High Court. With cut number 2, Mr. Producer, we have the lowest trade deficit right now, as you might have seen that breaking news 5 days ago from the President of the United States, but he found it worthy enough to share once again on True Social, and important as the midterms are underway. And just like 1992, 2026 will seemingly be about "it's the economy, stupid," to quote Mr. James Carville of Clinton-era politics and fame, once when the Democrat Party was slightly left of center. I'm sure you've seen many of those videos where they actually wanted strong borders and deported people like they did back in the Barack Hussein Obama administration. But breaking news as President Trump shares, numbers released today show that the United States of America has the lowest trade deficit since 2009, this going back to 1 week ago, going even lower as we speak. In addition to our nation's gross domestic product, it predicted to come in at over 5%, and that is after losing at least 1.5% to the Democrat shutdown. These incredible numbers and the unprecedented success of our country are a direct result of tariffs, which have rescued our economy and national security. It truly does go hand in hand. I hope the Supreme Court is aware of these historic country-saving achievements prior to the issuance of their most important ever decision. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And that decision on tariffs and whether or not they're constitutional based upon the use of executive orders and that very detailed case, we could see that decision in June. We were anticipating that perhaps before the new year, but the High Court did delay that. So we'll see what that ultimate decision will be. With cut number 3, breaking news, President Trump making it clear yesterday in the speech in the Detroit Motor City to the Economic Club, effective February 1st, no more payments will be made by the federal government to states for their corrupt criminal protection centers known as sanctuary cities. All they do is breed crime and violence. If states want them, they will have to pay for them. Make America great again. As we get to the bottom of the hour and await President Trump to participate in a bill signing ceremony at the White House roughly 90 minutes from now. Stick with us here on the right side of history as we take a quick commercial break for those sponsors. There's a live look there of the mall in Washington, D.C. Always a joy to be with you on this Wednesday, January 14th in the Lord's year, 2026.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door. Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Robert McNeely, and if you're just tuning in, happy Wednesday as we await President Trump to participate in this bill signing ceremony. Roughly 89 minutes from now, scheduled for 2 o'clock Eastern Time in the federal city at your house, the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. In the meantime, we're breaking down the speech from yesterday and any breaking news happening over the channels. Now, make driving great again. President Trump really focusing on revitalizing Motown and the Motor City, Detroit, Michigan, that was once bankrupted by the neoliberals and the neocons as Beijing was bankrolled. Well, that has changed dramatically over the course of the last calendar year, as the White House releasing this goal for President Trump, showcasing American auto industry revivals in the great Wolverine state of Michigan. President Donald Trump took office on a promise to revitalize the American auto industry. And after just 1 year, he has unquestionably delivered on that promise. Today, as President Trump visited Michigan, well, this was yesterday, touring the home of the assembly of Ford's iconic F-150 pickup truck, a great one at that, the nation celebrates the United States auto industry's leadership and its future, as we've seen growth not only in Detroit, but throughout the Southeast, especially with partners like Hyundai and Toyota, moving all of their headquarters and manufacturing plants to Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, to continue to grow the American economy. Now, under President Trump and his America First agenda, the American auto industry is primed for unprecedented expansion. Automakers are thriving amid record-breaking sales. The past year marked the strongest year for new vehicle sales since 2019. Ford achieving its best annual sales in 6 years, and General Motors reported soaring overall vehicle sales with its strongest SUV performance in decades. And Stellantis seeing Jeep and its brand of sales rising to the first time since 2018 to the highest point. So exciting to see what's taking place with American car manufacturers. Thank you to All Family Pharmacy for supporting us on the right side of history, as they're helping change how people access their medications on a daily basis, getting rid of the barriers found in traditional pharmacies instead of waiting weeks for appointments and urgent care lines. You should see the place right next to my residence. My goodness, it's out the door this time of year. Tamiflu, so important to have in addition to ivermectin, antibiotics, antivirals, and methylene blue, NAD+. These life-saving medications that some in the pharmaceutical realm have deemed not prescribable or have gone against because, God honest truth, they're not making a lot of money off of it. But allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN wants you to have these FDA-approved, amazing generics that have been on the market for over a half century. You can do that right there by visiting that wonderful website, code RSBN10 for 10% off now. Order online and you'll have a U.S. licensed doctor review that order and send it to you within days. So go ahead, scan that QR code there for emergency medical kits and over 300 essential maintenance medications that you can have in your medicine cabinet ready to go, and then also on the road with you if you are traveling. Again, they offer a very wide selection of these medications, and this model is especially helpful for those who value convenience and who are always on the go. But also, really no excuse to not have medicine ready and available when you do get sick, because I've been there, especially the college years when, oh my goodness, I had nothing on me to take care of my ailment, and that's the worst thing, to go into a pharmacy when it's too late or wait for those long lines for your doctor or even in urgent care. So allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN gets you prepared beforehand. The pharmacy that supports your medical freedom, the right to try, most favored nation status, and wants to put you and your family first. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Get 10% off now with code RSBN10. And there's also angelpaste.com, a great way to keep yourself healthy this time of year as well, because they have the orange option, vitamin C infused. So great to fight off the cold and flu that way. Also non-GMO, no chemicals. And the vitamin B Miracle Cream I use on a daily basis. They're original. That kicked off this great Christian-owned company. They hire veterans. They're based out of Spring, Texas, off the Gulf of America. And they love this country just as much as we do here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. So we're proud to partner with angelpaste.com. That actually makes a great difference for your beauty needs throughout the week. For guys and for gals, they even have a natural facial spray. Try it and go paint the town red at angelpaste.com. Also, thank you to Venice.ai/RSBN. Available at the App Store or the Google Play Store, 20% off with code RSBN. Do you ever wonder about these? Well, Hillary Clinton made it famous, BleachBit and the email leaks and leaks in general. And how did people obtain all this information, from Social Security numbers to credit cards to bank leaks, even at the highest levels and the biggest corporate entities that are out there? So Venice.ai/RSBN can protect you on your phone when it comes to text messaging, to phone calls, but especially via email and the dark web, when insidious bad actors would attempt to steal your personal information. Download Venice.ai/RSBN for the App Store and Google Play, both available there. Again, 20% off with code RSBN, and have that peace of mind as we truly live in a digital world. It's 12:38 on the East Coast, 9:38 on the West Coast. Welcome again to Right Side Broadcasting Network on this Wednesday, January 14th, breaking down all of the Trump administration's latest accolades and successes, especially here domestically. And that's a focus on, we hear this, affordability in the legacy items. And there is, some validation to that with how expensive things have happened and have cost. But here's the irony of all of it. Sanctuary cities actually seeing their rents and mortgages skyrocketing as they continue to try to protect those of a legal status. And where the costs are actually going down the most, those places that actually work directly with federal law enforcement, who have asked for the assistance of the feds in the form of DHS to ICE to Border Patrol to help to remove criminal illegal aliens. And 650,000 plus being apprehended over the course of the last calendar year, those with serious crimes to their names, although you have one major party who is claiming otherwise. But back to the domestic front, vehicles more affordable for American families. This according to the White House. That new data indicates that prices for both new and used vehicles have decreased since President Trump took office, a trend complemented by recent declines in vehicle maintenance, repair, and insurance costs, as well as gas at its lowest average price in nearly 5 years. Now, additionally, for the first time, Americans can deduct interest on auto loans for vehicles made in America, positioning the market for even greater demand and major investments in domestic manufacturing. President Trump's policies have catalyzed big investments from leading automakers to expand their U.S.-based production. Companies including Ford, Stellantis, General Motors, Honda, Toyota, and many others are investing billions in American facilities, creating good-paying jobs and strengthening supply chains here in America, like right here in Michigan. Now, tariffs are driving United States production without inflation, a key component as we look to the midterms this year. Contrary to fake news doomcasting, President Trump's tariffs have had no impact on vehicle prices, while his Section 232 tariffs on heavy-duty trucks have instead fueled a revival in the domestic manufacturing, with Ford CEO Jim Farley calling this a really big deal, quote unquote, there, as Bloomberg noted, despite many analysts anticipating a bump up in prices for the 2026 model year, with automakers expected to do a lot more to pass along the tariff increases. That just really has not happened, with streamlined regulations making United States production more and more competitive. President Trump has reversed erroneous Biden-era regulations and fuel economy standards that would have added nearly $1,000 to the cost of the average new vehicle, delivering billions in savings for consumers. Now, the Trump administration also eliminated the unpopular vehicle stop-start requirement. I turn mine off in my car. I have that stupid thing, and it drives me nuts because it actually hurts an engine in the long run. This authorization by the last administration and its requirement did not make things affordable and efficient. In fact, on the contrary, with their Tiny Cars initiative, rescinding state-level electric vehicle mandates and implementing other reforms to eliminate hidden cost increases imposed by Democrat policies. This all thanks to President Trump and his domestic agenda. Now, these moves have earned wide praise from automakers and auto dealers across the country, alike to victories for common sense and affordability. And this country, this world in so many ways, will need oil and gas to run, especially a nation as large as ours. As we go back to some of what President Trump has been saying on Truth Social, speaking of national security, oil and gas, and infrastructure, Greenland. President Trump, with cut number 4, stating that the United States needs Greenland for the purpose of national security. It is a vital for the Golden Dome that we are building. If you're not familiar, this was a Reagan initiative initially, part of the Star Wars program, to create a dome shield and anti-missile and anti-aircraft system in order to protect the homeland, something very similar to what Israel has in order to protect its country. Now, it's vital for this Golden Dome that we are building. NATO should be leading the way for us to get it. If we don't, Russia or China will, and that is not going to happen. Militarily, without the vast power of the United States, much of which I built during my first term and am now bringing to a new and even higher level, NATO would not be an effective force or deterrent, not even close. They know that, and so do I. NATO becomes far more formidable and effective with Greenland in the hands of the United States. Anything less than that is unacceptable. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. And he spoke on this on Friday with the oil and gas executives around the roundtable at the White House as part of the East Room entrance, the new entrance looking out to that big, beautiful ballroom. And we look forward to that as well, on time, under budget as well. But this is a core component of what I saw as a journalist in local news in Anchorage, Alaska. It was once called Seward's Folly. As we know, William Seward, Secretary of State under the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, in obtaining that great land from Alaska, and actually in many native Alaskan tongues, known as that. Yes, the Great Land, as it is. It's extraordinary where it reaches. For those not familiar, if you would to place the state of Alaska on top of what they call the lower 48, the continental United States, it reaches from Charleston, South Carolina, past Los Angeles, California, into those Aleutian Islands. It's a massive landmass. And Seward's Folly, buying it 2 cents on the acre back in the 19th century, ended up being a strategic and formidable base and central location, not only to global trade, but also for the Pacific Fleet and for the defense of this nation, as all 6 branches of our military have a major presence all the way up there at their Air Force base known as J-Bear. Greenland would, on the Atlantic side, really complete that, as we are an Arctic nation. And if you look at the map, and perhaps I can share a picture on one of the broadcasts this week, it makes you rethink about how close the Arctic nations are to one another, and the proximity of missiles being fired or any bad actor coming close to our waters and to our homeland. The whole mentality shifts when you look at a map like that. And it was a privilege to cover local politics, in turn international politics, watching how important Alaska is for us in our Pacific defense and what took place not only during World War II, but into the Cold War. It may have ended up very different if we did not obtain Alaska under the Lincoln administration. So Greenland becoming of utmost important security procedures, as President Trump mentioning on Friday as well. You don't necessarily defend a lease. You defend what you own. You defend what's yours. And the Kingdom of Denmark proving very quickly that they have seemingly quite a disregard for the land. And President Trump said because you had ships land there roughly 500 years ago does not give you complete control of the island Arctic body that is quite large and central to our Atlantic defense. Again, you have Chinese, Russian ships that monitor those areas and really infringe upon NATO and American waters and space. But then again, with the UK and France, all of that in American ships, it could create a very intense war game up there. So Greenland of the utmost concern for this administration. Now, John Maples as well, President Trump with cut number 5, celebrating his victory yesterday in Florida, the Free Sunshine State. He's a House District candidate and now the GOP nominee. John Maples winning that election and endorsed by President Trump. So we know the president will be endorsing up and down the ballot, from state rep races to state senate races. Our friend Scott Pressler was recently in the crossroads of America in Indiana, Hoosier country, as they get ready for the national championship football night in America come Monday against the Miami Hurricane. But President Trump also looking to Indiana for those races and those state senators who blocked the redrawing of the map. So we're going to have a very interesting 2026 from North Carolina, the Tar Heel State, where Michael Whatley raising over $5.1 million in the last quarter, really crushing any expectations, financially speaking, as he goes against likely former Democrat Governor Roy Cooper, who is really a leftist in sheep's clothing. Seems like a nice guy, but not the best chief executive of North Carolina, and he bring a radical wing of that to the United States Senate. So all of these races up and down the ballot and very, very important. So again, John Maples, congratulations on your House District 87 win. Now the GOP nominee there in the Free Sunshine State of Florida. Also, cut number 6, Mr. Producer, President Trump very focused on the economic boom that we're experiencing here in America. Under my stewardship, the economy is booming. A manufacturing renaissance and soaring household incomes are powering GDP gains that have not been seen in decades, and we are undergoing a DIS inflationary boom. This private sector is growing by over 5%, thanks to the most business investment we have ever seen, maybe in history. And inflation trends are looking good. All the smart money knows the hottest country and economy is right here in the United States of America, in the entire world. Time to invest. And if there's someone who knows a thing or two about investments, it's President Donald Trump, given his business background. Now, cut number 7 as well. Minnesota's been big in the news. In fact, a state rep in Minnesota filing articles of impeachment against Governor Tim Walz, but President Trump stating just yesterday that Minnesota is Trump country. I won 78 out of 87 counties. The election was swung by corrupt counties around Minneapolis and St. Paul, represented by the disgusting Ilhan Omar. Moronic Tim Walz has allowed Minnesota to become overrun by Somali fraudsters who steal from American taxpayers and take advantage of our generosity. Tim is completely incompetent, which is why he lost big time last year. And bowing out of re-election is the only good decision he has ever made. I've instructed Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, to follow the money and put an end to this abuse once and for all, first in Minnesota and then all around the country. And we saw the secretary there in Minneapolis earlier in the week and even last week to update reporters on following that money and the corruption that we now know went all the way to East Africa in wire transfers and trade. And President Trump is right, even dedicating a portion of his very robust speech yesterday to the Detroit Economic Club in the Motor City, that Ilhan Omar has the gall to come over here and preach to us about our Constitution and what she seemingly knows. Well, without the United States of America, she'd likely not be living anymore in that war-torn third world nation. President Trump also pausing to highlight the passing of Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, with cut number 8, and a photo of them together there in the Oval Office. Someone who changed the landscape of those cartoons and magazines. Sadly, the great influencer Scott Adams has passed away. He was a fantastic guy who liked and respected me when it wasn't fashionable to do so. He bravely fought a long battle against a terrible disease. My condolences go out to his family and all of his many friends and listeners. He will truly be missed. God bless you, Scott. And many reports that he accepted Jesus as his Lord and Savior before that passing. Our thoughts and prayers with Scott Adams, his memory, his lasting peace in heaven, and our thoughts and prayers with his loved ones as well. Negative net migration now happening in the United States. That, according to the White House, with secure borders, negative net migration, and real results happening on a daily basis. President Trump promised action on immigration, and in 2025, he delivered historic results. So this is the first time in a half century where that has been down with such low levels, and no one going back into the country, no one being re-released, and that border more or less down to zero. And an amazing accomplishment of President Trump and DHS Secretary Kristi Noem to Border Czar Tom Homan, FBI Director Kash Patel, Attorney General Pam Bondi as well, who made this a center focus of this administration. I'd like to share with you the amazing things happening over at our Monetary Gold, our dear friends over there. We'll talk to Scott Sinead later in the show today. With wealth, security, and preservation, grab that complimentary presidential gold guide today. Do not delay. It's 888-617-7994. Ask how you can eliminate your annual IRA fees permanently for life. RSBN forthegold.com. RSBN forthegold.com. Call immediately to discover how you can eliminate your IRA fees permanently for life. Yes, it is RSBN forthegold.com. 888-617-7994. With everything happening in the economy, a lot of people are looking for ways to protect their assets, everything they worked hard for. And how do you do that when you have sometimes chaos around the world or uncertainty. With Venezuela to Iran, God bless all those protesters out there. Many thousands now claim to have lost their lives. President Trump to receive intelligence briefings on those details. To the strikes in Syria to stop Boko Haram and ISIS-affiliated terrorists as part of Operation Hawkeye. What does that mean for all of your assets and ultimately your retirement? When it comes to physical gold and silver, choosing the right company is just as important as choosing the metals themselves. So, with an economy that can teeter back and forth, and with the dollar losing its purchasing power by 40% in the last 2 decades, the BRICS nations who continually seek to divest from America, and with tariffs being implemented, what does that mean for you? Well, Monetary Gold has been in office for 26 years. They take it seriously. It's a calling for them to help you and yours with clarity, honesty, and integrity, with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating going on and on year after year now. They don't push gimmicks. They don't do special edition cards or coins. They actually look towards real bullion tied to real market value, and they take time to explain your options and make that clarity known without confusion. So if you're thinking about physical gold and silver, especially through an IRA, this kind of company is the one you want to talk to. In fact, they're the best out there. So give my friend Scott Cheney a call out there as he's leading his team in Los Angeles, California for wealth security and preservation. Call today. Do not delay. 888-617-7994. It's RSBN forthegold.com. Also, mypillow.com/RSBN. Christmas, its season has come to a close, but not the sales for Mr. Mike Lindell, the latest Republican gubernatorial candidate in the great state of Minnesota. Save up to 80% as we continue to have that Christmas hope and the smiles on our faces this golden era. Support Mike Lindell and Right Side Broadcasting Network. You have 2,000 plus options on his website. Code RSBN, simple promo code to remember. Save up to 80%. That is 80 this holiday season. MyPillow.com/RSBN. And I'm a big fan. I've mentioned it many times. The MyPillows, you have the 1.0s, the 2.0s, the themes as well for those kiddos, whether it's Bible verses or the Statue of Liberty with the backdrop of the American flag. In God we trust, our national motto. But also the My Slippers, the My Coffee, a delicious way to get your day started. So for a better night's rest and for a more peaceful morning, you should implement some MyPillow products because you'll have a smile on your face almost as big as Mr. Mike Lindell, our good friend out there in Minnesota, the latest Republican gubernatorial candidate, CEO of MyPillow.com/RSBN. Again, 80% off of your most treasured items for evening and morning. A Merry Christmas to all of you. Also, thank you to Venice.ai. Actually, we're going to RSBN Donate. We'll go back to Venice very soon. Support us right here on the right side of history. RSBnetwork.com/donate or text RSBN to 801-801. We also have that address for check or money order if you prefer the old school way of things, which I have to say, the old school way tends to be the better way. 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. The loveliest village on the plains. It's Auburn, Alabama, 36830. 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. Auburn, Alabama, 36830. Home of the Auburn Tigers and Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thank you for all your support. Where you can also get all America First updates of your 45th and 47th President of the United States, the 50th Vice President, the 119th Congress in its second term. And you can visit rsbnetwork.com/newsletter for that site. Please like, share, and subscribe for great writers here at the network as well who take a deep dive into the issues of the day in a fast-growing, ever-paced, 24/7, 365 news cycle that we find ourselves in. But the more voices, the better. As the late, great Charlie Kirk said, it's all about free speech. And if we stop talking to one another, that's when violence happens. We have to be robust in our dialogue, respectful, just as he was, but also fierce defenders of the Constitution, our American way of life, and where we come from in this Judeo-Christian mindset and fabric granted to us nearly 250 years ago as we celebrate America 250 and the greatness of an American nation. We'll take a quick commercial break here. 1 hour from now, 60 minutes away, it's President Trump to sign a bill and a ceremony to take place at the White House. We hope you stay with us. I'm Robert McNeely. You're watching The Right Side of History.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door. Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. A very good afternoon to you. If you're on the East Coast and in the Midwest, a good morning out there to my friends on the West Coast as we await President Trump to sign a bill just moments away. Stick with us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. According to the White House, a big successful day as President Trump visited the Wolverine state of Michigan, celebrating the auto industry, economic revival, and President Trump returning to that swing state that he won handedly to underscore the progress made in revitalizing our economy, celebrating the resurgence of the American auto industry, and charting the path forward to clearly deliver continued relief to American families. And so much of this revolves around choice and an economy where you have options to choose from, as President Trump has heralded the economic revival after 1 year back in office. Yes, this January 20th, just days away, celebrating that 1 year. And can you believe how quick that went? I'll be sure to share some highlights from last year's moments on the ground right there in the federal city. That's a live shot you're seeing from the mall and the gorgeous layout of Washington, D.C., as we enjoyed so many inaugural events and the fun that we had there on a bitterly brisk week in our nation's capital. Now, after less than 12 months in office, President Trump back in Michigan to report to the Michigan Economic Club, the Detroit Economic Club, in fact, the strongest and fastest economic turnaround in our country's history. Joe Biden giving a colossal stagflation catastrophe, as President Trump put it, but my administration has rapidly and very decisively ended that. We have quickly achieved the exact opposite of stagflation, almost no inflation and super high growth. And President Trump continued in his speech, stating that after real wages plummeted by $3,000 under Sleepy Joe Biden, real wages are up by $1,300 in less than 1 year under President Trump. We have gas stations in the Detroit area where you can fill up for less than $2.30 a gallon, whereas 2 years ago it was $4.50. And now the stock market is now the highest in history, boosting 401ks and retirement accounts for millions and millions of Americans. Now the Trump tariffs have delivered us trillions of dollars in new investment, according to the president. They brought hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into the United States Treasury, helping to curb inflation and helping to cut the federal budget deficit by a staggering 27%. Under Joe Biden, we had the highest trade deficit ever recorded in American history, losing more than $1 trillion every single year. We've slashed that gaping trade deficit by, in a short period of time, 62%. And as the president continued throughout this robust speech, just as I promised you, I've imposed a 25% tariff on all foreign automobiles. The United States auto factories are now seeing $70 billion of new investment. President Trump laying out a bold plan to ensure all Americans feel the benefits of the Trump economy. President Trump stating yesterday that next week he'll be going to much more provided detail and in depth about our housing policies so that every single American who wants to own a home will be able to afford one. This will include a ban on large institutional investors buying up single family homes all over the country, also announcing that the United States government is purchasing $200 billion of mortgage bonds to bring down mortgage rates. He has proudly called for credit card companies to cap an interest rate at 10% for 1 year because they're getting 28 and 30%. It's unfair. The rates are way too high. You see many Americans suffering from that credit card debt because of these high interest rates by these corporations. Now, to provide further relief to the hardworking American taxpayer, we will also be confronting one of the biggest factors in driving up prices, the monstrosity known as the Unaffordable Care Act. Later this week, President Trump will announce healthcare affordability, its framework that will reduce premiums for millions of Americans. So those really right, left, and center who have been complaining about that President Trump hasn't been focused on domestic policy, that it's been all about international, it's been all about something else. It has not been focused allegedly on healthcare premiums, affordability, especially the cost of homes and living the American dream. Nothing could be further from the truth, as this president recognizes that reshaping the global order through tariffs, through new trade deals, essential to what will happen right here at home. President Trump touring the manufacturing home of Ford's iconic F-150 truck in Dearborn, Michigan. Workers erupted in applause and showed off the plant's booming production as company leaders confirmed the positive impact of President Trump's agenda, albeit there was one moron there who said just false things, and President Trump gave him a piece of his mind. And that's why we love President Trump, because he is an everyman's man and gave it right back to the fool who was on the production line. Ford CEO Jim Farley stating that we're adding a combustion truck, an affordable one, in Tennessee. And that's what these policies are doing for Ford. We're going to actually expand one of our existing plants and make a different kind of truck there. Ford Executive Chairman Bill Ford stating that we have a great relationship with the president, the entire staff, and they've been great to work with us, in fact. He personally is incredibly responsive every time we need something or a call, and we very much appreciate it. We could not be more excited. We're adding market share, we're growing as a company, and we're adding jobs. And as it said, built for America, built Ford proud. President Trump signing the hood of one of the premier models of the Ford F-150, perhaps the grandest truck on the road today. just a decade or so ago, this company was failing drastically. People were turning from Ford to other international options. As we see those photos there from the White House and that exciting time that was had yesterday on the Ford plant floor there in Dearborn, Michigan. And we are bringing back not only Detroit Rock City, Motown, the Motor City, but the entire whole of the American automotive industry, as it was fitting that KISS being one of the recipients of the Trump Kennedy Center honors, as they coined that term, Detroit Rock City. Now, President Trump addressing the Minnesota Somali fraud scandal in the midst of all this during that speech to the Detroit Economic Club yesterday. To quote him, another urgent priority for bringing down the cost of living to stop the colossal fraud that is bleeding American taxpayers absolutely dry. Our country has been losing over $500 billion to fraud every single year, but those days are over. I'm creating a brand new division, the Department of Justice, a legal strike force led by really tough, smart, and new Attorney General and Assistant for Fraud, who will be under Pam Bondi, reporting directly to her office, but also will be working out of the office and the West Wing of the White House, as Vice President J.D. Vance announcing that last week. To quote the president further, we intend to imprison any fraudster, politician, or public official involved in these sick plots to loot and pillage our country. I'll repeat that one more time, because the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, stated in the apprehension of Maduro, when this president speaks, he means it. He's not effing around. He is working towards a more just society. So I'm going to repeat that once again. President Trump stating yesterday, we intend to imprison any fraudster, politician, or public official involved in these sick plots to loot and pillage our country. Governor Tim Walz, I would take note. We're also going to revoke the citizenship of any naturalized immigrant from Somalia or anywhere else who is convicted of defrauding our citizens. President Trump continuing that we've frozen all children's payments to those states. We will now require proof of attendance in order to receive federal funding for child care. Additionally, from the moment forward, if your public assistance office, like almost all Somalians are tied to, you can't wire money out of the country back to your bank account from where you came. So starting on February 1st, as we covered earlier in the broadcast, we're not making any payments to sanctuary cities or states having sanctuary status, because they do everything possible to protect criminals at the expense of American citizens. And it breeds fraud and crime and all of the other problems that come as a result of those activities. As we liberate our country from the cultural scourge and the plague of corruption and fraud, we'll rediscover the natural energy and the native spirit that truly makes America great again. So this is not so much Republican versus Democrat. It's common sense versus lunacy, capitalism versus communism, protecting the American citizen and the honest broker from illegal aliens who seek to bring fraud, waste, corruption, and abuse, whether it's Somalians in Minnesota, to those lives lost, especially Laken Riley and Jocelyn Nungary, Rachel Morin, who should all still be with us here now today, whether 12 years old to senior status in college, at 22 years of age to a 37-year-old mother of 5. No one should have gone through what is preventable crime in this country because the last administration opened the border. Bar none, pause, period. It's very, very black and white. And thank God we have an administration who is addressing this on a daily basis. And also, thanks be to God for our great sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, including All Family Pharmacy, helping to change how pharmacies operate on a daily basis, and going to that online route and leading the way so that you have the right to try and most favored nation status and to protect your family. It's in the name, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Protect your medical freedom, your right to choose, your bodily autonomy, and it's right there at RSBN 10% off right now. Ivermectin, antibiotics, antivirals, maintenance meds, and much, much more. Tamiflu. So important this time of year, as flu is on the rise. 300 plus medications. In fact, this pharmacy breaking down the barriers found in traditional pharmacies. Instead of waiting weeks and weeks for appointments or dealing with insurance complications, customers order online. The order is reviewed by a licensed physician right here in the United States. You receive your medications from that individual. Again, no red tape, no bureaucracy, no insurance, no hassle. Just a pharmaceutical note to receive things like antibiotics, antivirals, Tamiflu, as I mentioned, ivermectin, NAD+, methylene blue, blood pressure medications, and much, much more, including emergency medical kits. Their model especially helpful for those who value convenience and timely access to the medications they may need. If you want life a little bit easier, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, the place to go, RSBN 10. And you may ask, why an online pharmacy? Why not just go down the street? Well, many pharmacies, they're not making, as they see it, capital off of off-label generic options, and will flat out not prescribe things like ivermectin, NAD+, methylene blue to many others that this great pharmacy has on hand for you. So we'll break this down with lead pharmacists and co-owners of the organization tomorrow live on the network. In the meantime, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, code RSBN 10, your go-to. And when your health is in order and protected in the medicine cabinet, or if you take it on the road, why not bet and trade and have some fun with Kalshi.com/RSBN? The Indiana Hoosiers trying to have a Cinderella story year as the Rose Bowl champions, also the Peach Bowl champions, heading to that national championship. Kurt Signetti doing an amazing job after leaving James Madison University and once as an assistant coach under the great Nick Saban at Alabama. Changing this Indiana program in 2 years. They are undefeated at 15-0 and stand the chance to be the first 16-0 college football team in the modern era. They have one more obstacle. It's a Miami Hurricane who will be having a home game at Hard Rock down in Miami, Florida. So be sure to tune in for that on Monday, January 19th. Get your bets and trades in beforehand. Scan that QR code there. It's sports, music, politics, our great American experiment in the golden era, America 250. Kalshi.com/RSBN is here for it, and we are grateful to partner with them on the right side of history. And go to angelpaste.com and get my favorite miracle cream. It's vitamin B infused. This Christian-owned company that hires veterans. They're based out of Spring, Texas, off the Gulf of America. It's Angel Paste, the miracle cream that can change your day for the better. Their orange option, very good this time of year as well. In the cold and flu season, heck, it's good year round, but that extra boost can help you to keep you healthy through your skin. You might as well put things on your body that are healthy and all natural with the non-GMO and no chemical MAHA movement, now gaining traction and steam both in public and private entities. Angel Paste has been doing it for a long time, and their natural facial spray, great to paint the town red, whether it's that first date or 50th wedding anniversary. All there for you. Many, many options at angelpaste.com. Experience that miracle today as we continue in this golden era, roughly 20 minutes after the hour. In case you missed it, we do have playback from the press gaggle off of Air Force One at Joint Base Andrews before President Trump set sail for Detroit Rock City just yesterday. And President Trump covering the big items in the news and discussing with reporters next steps in a number of different arenas for the United States of America.
Well, we had great numbers introduced today. We had a wonderful speech in front of great people in Detroit, mostly in the car business, and we're setting records in manufacturing. It's going very well. I think people appreciated what I had to say in terms of the numbers. So we're very happy about that. I'm going back to the White House now. We're going to look at the whole situation that's going on in Iran. Really bad stuff. Minnesota is going to have to take care of itself for a little while. We have tremendous theft and fraud going on in that state because you have an incompetent governor, grossly incompetent governor, and a corrupt governor. But we'll straighten that out. But Iran is on my mind when I see the kind of death that is happening over there, we think. So we're going to get some accurate numbers. I'll have it in about 20 minutes. We'll get some accurate numbers as to what's happening with regard to the killing. The killing looks like it's significant, but we don't know yet for certain. I'll know within 20 minutes. So, and we'll act accordingly.
How can you ensure that U.S. airstrikes, if it comes to that, will have the result of protecting the protesters?
Well, you never know, do you? You never know.
Do you think it's...
So far, my track record's been excellent, but you never know.
Do you think it's going to be something kinetic like that, or more like cyber? Or
well, I can't tell you that. I know exactly what it would be. We have to make a decision.
Sir,
but I can't be. Obviously, I can't be telling you.
Timeline? Yeah, timeline.
Sir, Jamie Dimon said today that it's not a great idea to be chipping away at the Fed's independence. Do you think Jamie Dimon's wrong about that?
Yeah, I think it's fine what I'm doing. We have a bad Fed person. He was extended by Biden. And yeah, I think he's wrong. I think it's wrong. He's done a bad job. We should have lower rates. Jamie Dimon probably wants higher rates. Maybe he makes more money that way.
Mr. President, Jamie Dimon also was talking about the 10% credit card. The House Speaker said that it could have negative side effects if it was imposed through Congress. Are you concerned about that? Have you talked about?
No, I'm not. I think that people that are paying 28% interest should be protected. We're talking about for a one-year period, but when you have a bank, whether it's Jamie Dimon or anybody else, charging people 28, 32%, 30%, 31%, one case 35%, no, I'll help those people. That's all right. It's a 1 year, 10%. Let the people have a break.
In your speech, you said that you're going to be cutting off funding for sanctuary cities on February 1st.
That's right.
What kind of funding?
You'll see. It'll be significant.
Mr. President, on healthcare, is there something that you can do with insurance companies to bring down premiums like you're doing with credit cards?
I'm going to meet with the insurance companies, but I want the money to go directly to the people. It's very simple. Into a healthcare savings account, but directly to the people so the people can buy their own health care.
On Thursday will be the 6-year anniversary of you signing the Phase 1 trade deal with China, the signature on it. Would that deal open Chinese markets to U.S. goods? It protected intellectual property. Can we get back to that?
Yeah, we can. We're doing very well with China. Have a great relationship with President Xi, as you obviously know. We're doing really well. We're making a lot of money with China.
But can you open their markets to U.S. goods?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think it's going to happen.
Iran says that it will retaliate in the instance of U.S. strikes against U.S. assets in the Middle East. What do you say to U.S. service members about why it's worth the risk to intervene in Iran?
Yeah, Iran said that the last time I blew them up with the nuclear capability, which they don't have any longer. So Iran said that the last time. They better behave.
The Intel stock is really high after you invested. Are you going to invest more in Intel?
I like it. So, well, I don't know about Intel, but I'll invest more in other things.
What other companies?
As you know, Intel came to see me. They needed help. And I said, I'll help you, but I want 10% of your company to go to the United States of America. And we made, because of that deal, tens of billions of dollars. The stock went very up and very high, and we made tens of billions of dollars. They walked away and they gave us a lot of money, but they did a great deal for themselves because their stock has gone up. As soon as we went in, Apple went in, NVIDIA went in, a lot of smart people went in, they followed us. So yeah, we're doing that. We've done other of those deals. In Alaska, we did a deal where we got a big piece of a company where we were helping them to get a road. We're the only ones that could have done it. And we said we want something out of the company for the United States of America, okay? So I believe in that. We have some other ones that we're looking at. I believe in that. If it's up to us, if they can't do it without us, and then I say, well, we'll do it. If you were a private guy, you'd say, what do we get for doing it? Now, I don't want anything for myself. I want our country to be rich as hell. But with Intel, we made billions and billions of dollars, right?
So, Mr. President, on Iran, do you have a message for the leaders currently of Iran?
Yeah, the message is they've got to show humanity. They've got a big problem, and I hope they're not going to be killing people. And I'm going to have a report very soon. It would seem to me that they have been badly misbehaving, but that is not confirmed.
Sir, you mentioned the 1980 hostage rescue effort that ended in disaster.
Well, it was a disaster for Jimmy Carter. They had all sorts of problems, and the helicopters were crashing and everything. You know what it was? The exact opposite of Venezuela. Do you agree with that? Do you agree? As a reporter, who are you with? Who are you with?
I'm with the Financial Times, sir.
Oh, good. What's a nice paper?
So are you committing not to sending U.S. troops into Iran?
Why would I tell you that? Why would I?
Mr. President,
I don't talk about military strategy with a reporter, you know?
Mr. President,
even though I do like the Financial Times.
Are you consulting with our allies regarding Iran? What are they telling you, and why do you think the Iranian...
Well, I'm not going to tell you what they're telling me.
Why do you think the Iranian leadership continues to defy you, Mr. President?
You think they are?
Well,
it's only been a couple of days.
They continue to kill protesters.
Well, they said that about Venezuela, too, you know? It's only been a couple of days. They haven't defied me. They haven't done anything as far as we're concerned. But it looks like they're killing a lot of people, but it has not been confirmed. I'll know very soon.
The premier of Greenland said today, we prefer to stay with Denmark. Do you see that as the
Who said that?
The premier of Greenland.
Well, that's their problem. That's their problem. I disagree with them. I don't know who he is. Don't know anything about him. But that's going to be a big problem for him.
Do you want to see democracy in Iran?
Ideally, you'd like to see it. But what we want to see is we don't want to see people killed. And we want to see a little bit of freedom for these people. These people have been living in hell for a long time. You know, that used to be a hell of a country. I have friends that used to invest in Iran. And they did well with their investments. It was a great place. The people were great. Even the leadership was good. And now it's living in hell. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. President.
And those comments yesterday from President Trump, the press gaggle before boarding Air Force One for the great Motor City of Detroit, Michigan, as we break down all of those successes and make driving great again. The White House focused on that and the importance that will come about of American manufacturing, the steel industry, and the car and automotive industry really making a comeback here in the United States of America. We'll take a quick commercial break for sponsors here on the right side of history. Roughly 33 minutes away for a scheduled bill signing ceremony at the Oval Office. Stick with us here. And President Trump just minutes away.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door. And And welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Robert McNeely as we await President Trump for a bill signing ceremony in the Oval Office. If you're just joining us, make driving great again. This is a focus of the administration, domestic policy, as affordability being in the forefront of the American discussion in this golden era of 2026. And we see just that with President Trump announcing during his speech to the Detroit Economic Club just yesterday that he wants those housing prices to come down. He wants the American dream to happen, and that the Somali fraud, waste, and abuse and the cost of daycare, I'm sure many of you facing that with those options as living in 2026, most households need to be dual income households. And I have many friends who do just that. They don't necessarily want to, but daycare is the best option. And no question, the waste, fraud, and abuse in Minnesota to Maine, Ohio, even in some places like Illinois and California, seemingly leading to $19 billion that we know of waste, fraud, and abuse. Thanks to Nick Shirley, his iPhone, and a cameraman on the ground to ask those tough questions, something that local legacy media outlets failed to do. Even some national failed to do, when there could have been a story looking at the Quality Learning Center, as they could not spell learning, apparently. So a fraud, waste, and abuse scandal that has led to Governor Tim Walz not seeking a third term to the governor's mansion, and a state representative now in Minnesota filing those articles of impeachment, with Secretary Besson pledging to follow the money. And what we know now, that money has been wired over to East Africa, among other nations, including Somalia. So we'll watch as this ever-growing and developing story continues to hit the cycles. President Trump showcasing just yesterday the American auto industry revival in Michigan and how that can help the American worker. Now, President Trump took office on a promise to revitalize the American auto industry, and after just 1 year in office, he has unquestionably delivered. Today, as President Trump visits Michigan and tours the home of the Ford's iconic F-150, a great truck out there, one of my favorite on the road. The nation celebrates the United States auto industry's leadership and resurgence under this president. Now, President Trump's America First agenda focused on just that, the American auto industry primed for an unprecedented expansion and a comeback unlike any other. Automakers are thriving amid record-breaking sales. This past year marked the strongest year for new vehicle sales since 2019. Ford achieving its best annual sales in 6 years, and General Motors reporting soaring overall vehicle sales with its strongest SUV performance in decades. And Stellantis saw Jeep and brand new sales rise for the first time since 2018. Now, vehicles are more affordable for American families. New data indicating that prices for both new and used vehicles have decreased since President Trump took office, a trend complemented by recent declines in vehicle maintenance, repair, and insurance costs, as well as gas at its lowest average price in nearly 5 years. Additionally, for the first time, Americans can deduct interest on auto loans for vehicles made here in America, positioning the market for even greater demand. So some great relief there for tax season, which is right around the corner when you think about it, April 15th, 3 months from now. Major investments in domestic manufacturing on the forefront as President Trump's policies have catalyzed big investments from leading automakers to expand their United States-based production companies, including Ford, Stellantis, General Motors, Honda, Toyota, and many others. Something we're actually seeing down here in the Southeast as well. If you remember from early on in the administration, President Trump, with the leaders of not only the House of Representatives and representing the great state of Louisiana, from Mike Johnson to Steve Scalise, but those executive CEOs from Toyota and Hyundai, those great Japanese and South Korean manufacturers who are doing business and leading the way in manufacturing and factories and building of their vehicles right here in Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, among other states. Companies are focused on strengthening good-paying American jobs and facilities right here in America and Michigan, the Wolverine State, where it all began back in the 50s and cities. Detroit, Rock City, Motown, and the Motor City all reclaiming their fame as we remember the 100-day celebration and the UAW president coming out to the stage to introduce President Trump, stating that it was the neoliberals and the neocons that sought to bankrupt Detroit and bankroll Beijing. That has changed under this president, especially in the second administration. Tariffs are undeniably driving the United States production without inflation. Now, contrary to fake news doomcasting, President Trump's tariffs have had no impact on vehicle prices, while his Section 232 tariffs on heavy-duty trucks have instead fueled a revival in domestic manufacturing, with Ford CEO Jim Farley calling it a really big deal. And as Bloomberg noted, despite many analysts anticipating a bump up in prices for the 2026 model year, with automakers expected to do a lot more to pass along the tariff increases that just really have not happened. A streamlining of regulations are making U.S. production more competitive, and President Trump reversing onerous Biden-era fuel economy standards that would have added nearly $1,000 to the cost of the average new vehicle right here at home, delivering billions in savings for consumers, and the Trump administration also eliminating the unpopular vehicle stop-start method, which I'm thrilled about because my 2020 version of my vehicle that has that stop-start, and I have to turn that off every time because it hurts the engine ultimately. And this authorization has rescinded state-level electric vehicle mandates, implementing other reforms to eliminate those hidden costs and those increases imposed by Democrat policies. These moves have earned wide praise from automakers and auto dealers alike as victories for common sense and affordability. So some excitement there in the Motor City yesterday. Also yesterday, the Supreme Court opening those hearings to a transgender case coming out of Idaho. And again, it's biological science, it's common sense. There's male and there's female, made in the image and likeness of God. If you're a non-believer, still that science upholds that very foundation and that truth. So all these new terms we're hearing are rather bizarre over the course of the last few years. And it's a national security issue and a safety issue for our girls out there, so, and our women as well. So my hat's off, kudos to Riley Gaines and the countless athletes. Ashley Brassfield herself from the Daily Caller, who was a college athlete, dear friend of this network, who have had to put up with and see men in women's sports and the harm that can bring to those, including a high school volleyball player who is blind in one eye because she had a man, a biological male, spike a volleyball so hard at her, right at her face. It's really a terrible thing to watch, including what Riley went through with that so-called Leah Thomas and an individual who wanted to change in front of women. It's bizarre, and it not only opens doors for abusers, pedophiles, and perverts and sickos, as the president puts it, but it's also that fear of being harmed and losing out on scholarship access and money to go to college. It's a complete attack on Title IX. So this oral argument happening before SCOTUS is whether or not that extension of Title IX under the Biden administration was legal and ethical ultimately. I believe it's a complete attack on Title IX, not only based on the letter of the law, but simple natural law and biological science. But with cut number one, Mr. Producer, in case you missed it from Fox Live, having those, there's no cameras allowed in the Supreme Court, but audio you do have. And Ketanji Brown Jackson, the latest appointment from the AutoPen administration. This is a case that should go 9-0. Perhaps it will go 8-1 based on these very bizarre questions.
We're indifferent to a person's gender identity in applying the law.
But the law actually operates differently, I think, for cisgender women and transgender women. That is, with respect to their desire to play on a team that matches their gender identity, cisgender women can do it, transgender women cannot. And so we do appreciate a distinction, I think, that is being drawn on the basis of your gender status, gender identity status, trans or cis, right?
So, and I want to make sure I understand
Yes.
if we're operating in Title IX world or equal protection world, because I think it might make a difference to the answer. But
okay, let's start with Title IX.
So Title IX, I think the question of, I look at this statute and see a distinction between boy and girl indifferent to gender identity. And I think that...
Right, but I'm testing that proposition, right? You see that distinction, and I see it too on the separation of teams level at the beginning.
Right, and I think what I'm hearing is that distinction arises from a difference in effect, and I don't see a disparate impact analysis that's sort of hidden away in Title IX.
But why is that a difference in effect? So it's like a second order discrimination, right? The first order is separating male from female.
Right.
The second order is separating transgender women from cisgender women, right?
Respectfully, I would disagree.
No.
Thank you to Venice.ai/RSBN for all of your safety and security online. You may have heard of these leaks. God knows Hillary Clinton knows a thing or two about BleachBit, but not everyone has access to that. So go to a renowned AI defender. There's some positive things about artificial intelligence. This is one of them. Available at the App Store or the Google Play Store. 20% off now with code RSBN. So do you ever wonder about those big banks? We do so much of our work and our information right here on these iPhones or smartphones, and that can be leaked, and Social Security numbers can get out there, credit card numbers, to a whole host of private information, including your phone calls, messages, voicemails, to text messaging, but especially emails being leaked. And that's no one else's business. So Venice.ai/RSBN wants to protect your privacy and your person online. The App Store, Google Play, great options for those right now. 20% off with code RSBN. Easy to remember. Thank you to Venice.ai/RSBN. A great tool. In fact, the leader when it comes to protection online. Thank you as well to mypillow.com/RSBN. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. We hope that you all did, but Mr. Mike Lindell wants to extend those Christmas savings, 80% off, as we continue to celebrate this golden era and our American way of life. And perhaps no one more holly and jolly than Santa Claus himself than Mr. Mike Lindell, the CEO of MyPillow and the latest Republican gubernatorial candidate in the great state of Minnesota. Everything made right here in America at those facilities way up north, and a great team. I've been working with Mike Lindell and his team ever since my Truth Social days, and he hires the best and the brightest, and Minnesota is just full of really, really good people. Hopefully they'll have great leadership very soon after this nightmare of the moron, Tim Walz. But in the meantime, support Mike Lindell and Right Side Broadcasting Network by visiting mypillow.com/RSBN for 80% off, a big 80, promo code RSBN. Easy to remember. Over 2,000 items on that store. The Giza Dream Sheets, the MyPillow 1.0 to 2.0, the themed sheets and pillows reminding us of our liberty and foundation in this golden era, that we are one nation under God, our motto, to the My Slippers and the My Coffee free and fair trade coffee beans that are delicious, and the aroma itself will get you hooked in the best of ways. Support Mike Lindell and Right Side Broadcasting right here at mypillow.com/RSBN. Thank you to our friend Mike Lindell. Truly an inspiration and one of the great voices, one of the bravest voices out there, doing God's work and fighting for election integrity and for the future of his home state of Minnesota. mypillow.com/RSBN. If you've done well this year, please feel free to donate to us here at the network. We're not a big corporate entity. We depend on these sponsorships and also your generosity to keep on going as your leading live desk, as your leading rally network, as we will hit the ground running, just like President Trump will in these 2026 midterms. So we want to give you that unbridled access on the ground and talk to you like we're doing right there in those videos and photos from the 2024 campaign and get your take on the American ethos. RSBnetwork.com/donate or text RSBN to 801-801. The old school way of check or money order. I like to send a check every now and again. Well, you could do that here. 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. The loveliest village on the plains, Auburn, Alabama. 36830-1550. Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344. Auburn, Alabama. 36830. It just rolls off the tongue. Home to Auburn Tigers and your very own Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thank you for your generosity. You can also get those America First updates and exclusive offers. Like, share, and subscribe today. RSBnetwork.com/newsletter. Tell a friend or two, because every once in a while it's, oh my gosh, I didn't know you exist. Well, we've been around for a decade now. Joe Seal's vision to bring you the truth, the entirety, and what people are actually saying on the ground way back after President Trump came down that golden escalator with our illustrious First Lady Melania Trump at the Trump Tower and said, I'm officially running for President of the United States. That was a moment I remember watching that speech in real time and thinking, wow, this is a seismic shift, not only in Republican politics, but in the whole of American politics, focused on common sense, sealing and securing our borders, bringing down costs, and ultimately fighting for the American worker. RSBnetwork.com/newsletter. We have great writers here touching on, deep diving, in fact, into the big issues of the day. So be sure to catch the written word and like, share, and subscribe. And don't miss a moment as you get those alerts on your phone at RSBnetwork.com/newsletter. And I promise we're not too terribly annoying like some other subscriptions can be. We just want you to know the news of the day and what's going on with our broadcast at 1:47 Eastern. Moments from now, President Trump to highlight a bill signing ceremony at the White House. We hope you stay with us for that and catch all of the action happening in Washington, D.C., your federal city, as you can see the whole scape and size of it from the Washington National Monument, the sky cam there, one of my favorite monuments there in the federal city. If you go really close to it as well, you could tell that construction was stopped during the Civil War. It was supposed to be much taller than it is because you can actually see it's different stone that completed the rest of the obelisk. So an amazing history that we have and lots to reflect upon as it was recently celebrated. I believe for only the second or third time in American history, there's an ordinance where you cannot display anything outside of light in the nighttime on the monument, but special occasions do call for celebrations. And in America 250 kickoff happening right around the New Year's holiday with fireworks and displays of this American experiment, including going to the moon. And I watched that on a summer night during a Turning Point USA conference in the federal city of the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. That was a special moment to be there on the Mall and enjoy that with fellow colleagues and freedom fighters back in 2019. It's a place I love dearly. It's near and dear to my heart, as I know it is for many of you Americans across the country. And if you have not visited, be sure to do so. There's a lot of free museums as well that you can get lost in for hours. Trust me, I know a thing or two about it, as I am quite fond of our American experiment. In the meantime, let's take again to Truth Social and see what President Trump has been up to. The largest deficits or trade deficit is happening now in American history with cut number 2. President Trump posting this 5 days ago, but reposting it just today because of how important this news is. Breaking news, numbers released today showed the United States and going even lower. In addition, our nation's gross domestic product, the GDP, is predicted to come in at over 5%, and that is after losing at least 1.5% to the Democrat shutdown. These incredible numbers and the unprecedented success of our country are a direct result of tariffs, which have rescued our economy and national security. I hope the Supreme Court is aware of these historic country-saving achievements prior to the issuance of their most important ever decision. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And that's that case determining whether or not tariffs are constitutional or need to be through an act of Congress, or if they stand up with the executive orders. But I think there is precedent coming from a non-legal, very green in that regard, but someone who pays attention to it like a hawk. We've had tariffs that have made this a rich nation many times over, especially in the 19th century when we set up the Blue Ribbon Commission. You might have some of those public or private schools in your neck of the woods that received that federal funding way back when, before that god-awful federal income tax of 1913, really the birth of the progressive movement, and Woodrow Wilson, perhaps the most evil individual to have ever held the presidency on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. But that's another discussion for another day, as it would be a frightening thing if these tariffs were ultimately released per the Supreme Court. So we'll watch that. We were expecting a decision before the turn of the year, but that could come in June, with the rest of these decisions now being heard in this current term of the court. Thank you to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. 10% off right now with code RSBN10. Scan that QR code there. The pharmacy that supports your medical freedom, your right to try, and most favored nation status to get access to these life-saving medications, off-label and affordable generics. This is helping change how people purchase their medications across the whole of the United States. The barriers found in traditional pharmacies, instead of waiting weeks for appointments or to see your doctor, especially during cold and flu season, or the urgent care lines could literally be out the door when it's cold outside. They have requested reviews by a licensed U.S. doctor. So when you make that order, you don't even need insurance. There's no red tape, no bureaucracy. They just review your order with a pharmaceutical note. Those medications go directly to your door. Again, a wide range of 300 plus medications, including those maintenance meds, but Tamiflu, so important in January and February. We'll also have a live interview tomorrow with All Family Pharmacy, so be sure to tune in for that to get all of the latest information on the flu season, as it's really up by the numbers. But in the meantime, get prepared. Methylene Blue, NAD+, emergency medical kits to the antivirals, antibiotics, ivermectin, all life-saving, proven drugs that have been on the market for over a half century, and it can really help you in case you need it. You can travel with these as well. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Really your go-to for health and to protect you and yours in this cold and flu season. I also want to share the amazing Monetary Gold and the work that they do. Wealth Security Preservation. Grab that complimentary presidential gold guide today, 888-617-7994. Again, call today. Do not delay. Ask how you can eliminate your annual IRA fees permanently for life. It's rsbnforthegold.com. Call immediately to discover how you could do just that. Eliminate the IRA fees permanently, because that prevents people sometimes from diving in and asking those questions. What's great about this company, it's all about clarity, honesty, integrity. 26 years in business. You can call up my friend Scott Chenet. We're going to interview him later today, give you all the details about this amazing company, why their A+ Better Business Bureau rating continues to hold up every single year, because they craft a plan for you. It's not one size fits all. And with the American dollar experiencing 40% less of its purchasing power in the last 2 decades in these BRICS nations, and tariffs and what's happening in Iran right now, and with Russia, China, India, and many others who are trying to change and divest from the American dollar and the petrodollar, it's smart to think about divesting from paper currency that ultimately does not have your back. But gold and silver, so important not only to have these metals, it's important to choose the right company. they don't send you any gimmicks at Monetary Gold. They actually look at real bullion and where this is all going as gold and silver skyrocketing in the last calendar year. So be sure to call the senior trade executive and senior portfolio manager, my dear friend Scott Chenet over in Los Angeles, California, 888-617-7994. It's RSBNforthegold.com, RSBNforthegold.com. Before the February Winter Olympics in Turin, Italy, make sure you have that gold around your neck as we cheer on this golden era of America. Call immediately to discover those elimination of IRA fees and get that complimentary presidential gold guide. It's monetary gold, wealth, security, and preservation at rsbnforthegold.com. As we dive into the issues of the day and that live shot there from the Washington Monument over the mall, a gorgeous mall, my favorite mall, and it doesn't have any enclosures, just an outside stroll and a reflection upon not only a gorgeous reflecting pool, but American democracy in action and our constitutional republic standing the test of time for 250 years in this birthday celebration that kicked off last 4th of July in Des Moines, Iowa. Oh, it was a hot day there, but that was a lot of fun with the great Christina Wren, who was out there with me and enjoying the amazing times that President Trump had with the Iowa delegation and friends in a robust and wonderful first-in-the-nation primary state that will be continuing to shape this great country in the next few months to come as we approach these midterms. President Trump focused on cut number 3, no more funding for sanctuary status, the cities or the states that continue to harbor illegal aliens, mentioning on Truth Social that effective February 1st, this announcement coming yesterday to the Detroit Economic Club and that speech, no more payments will be made by the federal government to states for their corrupt criminal centers and their protection known as sanctuary cities. All they do is breed crime and violence, and if states want them, they will have to pay for them. Make America great again. President Trump also focused in recent days on Greenland, going back to Friday and discussions with oil and gas executives to the future of Venezuela, but also the national security of the United States in our hemisphere, but also in the North Atlantic waters. With cut number 4, the United States needs Greenland for the purpose of national security. It is vital for the Golden Dome that we are building. NATO should be leading the way for us to get it. If we don't, Russia or China will, and that is not going to happen militarily without the vast power of the United States, much of which I built during my first term and am now bringing to a new and even higher level. NATO would not be as an effective force or deterrent, not even close. They know that, and so do I. NATO becomes far more formidable and effective with Greenland in the hands of the United States. Anything less than that is unacceptable. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald John Trump. Also celebrating Mr. John Maples, his House District 87 victory yesterday as a GOP nominee in the free Sunshine State of Florida. With cut number 5, President Trump has committed to not only congressional races in the House and the Senate, but also in state legislative districts, in House races, in Senate races as well. And Mr. John Maples definitely part of the future of a robust and big tent Republican Party. President Trump sharing his congratulations over Truth Social in an effort to make America great again. And we are anticipating the president to participate in a bill signing just moments from now. We'll take a quick commercial break one more time for sponsorships, but stick with us here on the right side of history and get ready as we visit the West Wing, the Oval Office, and the White House at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. You're watching Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door. Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Robert McNeely. Just moments from now, President Trump to participate in a bill signing ceremony in the Oval Office. If you're just joining us, welcome to the Right Side of History, where we are your go-to live desk and rally network. And we're excited for the midterms. And all this year has already had to offer in a robust amount of news over the course of the last 2 weeks with President Trump and cut number 6. Mr. Producer, under my stewardship, the economy is booming. And we saw that during the speech to the Detroit Economic Club yesterday. A manufacturing renaissance and soaring household incomes are powering GDP gains right here at home that have not been seen in decades, and we are undergoing a disinflationary boom. Now, the private sector is growing by over 5%, thanks to the most business investment we have ever seen, maybe in history, and inflation trends are looking good. All the smart money knows the hottest economy in the world is the USA, so it's time to invest. President Trump's sharing that right on True Social, also stating with cut number 7 that Minnesota is Trump country. I won 78 out of 87 counties, President Trump stating that. The election was swung by corrupt counties around Minneapolis and St. Paul, represented by disgusting Ilhan Omar. Moronic Tim Walz has allowed Minnesota to become overrun by Somali fraudsters who steal from American taxpayers and take advantage of our generosity. Tim is completely incompetent, which is why he lost big time last year, and bowing out of re-election is the only good decision he has ever made. I've instructed Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, to follow the money and put an end to this abuse once and for all, first in Minnesota and then around the country. And we saw Secretary Bessent in Minneapolis just last weekend. Our hats off to brave ICE agents, DHS, Border Patrol, everyone in law enforcement. I know you're going through a lot right now. Our thoughts and prayers are constantly with you as you seek to make secure these American cities and states that have been overrun by terrible Democrat policies that seek to usurp the authority and the rule of law right here at home. And even some of our friends and colleagues in the media, please be careful out there as well, who have been ambushed by these organized radical protesters. Secretary Bessent saying we're going to follow the money and find exactly who is funding all of this crazy nonsense, because when you really think about people that would leave behind their family members to go and organize and protest, it's very much organized and reckless when it comes to their duties at home, especially if you are a mother and father and you go out there and participate in that and cross that threshold and impede on the law enforcement and their legal commands to conduct these very dangerous searches, all for you, to protect you and to protect the American citizen. So it's amazing to watch as this goes on a daily basis. But President Trump, on a sad but lighter note, with Scott Adams, highlighting his passing. Of course, the creator of Dilbert, a very creative man in his own right. President Trump stating, sadly, the great influencer Scott Adams has passed away. He was a fantastic guy who liked and respected me when it wasn't fashionable to do so. He bravely fought a long battle against a terrible disease. My condolences go out to his family and all his many friends and listeners. May God bless you, Scott. And a wonderful photo with them in the Oval Office from some years ago. Also, the negative net migration, it's the lowest it's ever been in 50 years, so a half century, and issues that Presidents Dwight D. Eisenhower and John Fitzgerald Kennedy even spoke upon when they were in office all those years ago. President Trump stating via the White House account on Truth Social at White House, if you'd like to follow, secure borders, negative net migration, real results. President Trump delivered action on immigration and delivered historic 2025 results. And that is an American proud moment, as again yesterday, President Trump highlighting that tour of the Ford facility in Dearborn, Michigan, and the real investments in domestic manufacturing and the revival of the American auto industry right here at home. So an exciting thing to witness, this resurrection of the American automobile, and the Ford F-150 making its claim as perhaps one of the strongest and most robust and affordable trucks out on the road right now. So President Trump celebrating all of that as Americans are thrilled with lower inflation and higher wages. And according to the White House, sharing fresh economic data just yesterday, reaffirming that inflation firmly under control as American workers see real wage gains in President Trump's economy. Here's what you need to know. Core inflation came in below economists' expectations. It's a more confident signal of cooling price growth after shutdown-related distortions and a convincing sign that inflation is on a downward path. This according to Bloomberg. President Trump ended Biden's inflation crisis over the course of the last several years. Since President Trump took office, headline inflation running at 2.4%. So that's much lower than the 3% rate that we found from the last administration. Wages rising. Real private sector wages growing and earnings on track to 4% in President Trump's first full year in office, resoundingly beating inflation. In fact, private sector workers are on track to see a real wage gain by $1,100, gaining some of the purchasing power lost under Biden. Blue-collar workers seeing real results. Overall good producing workers, the backbone of the American industry, are on track to see real wage and annual savings and earnings rise by $1,300 in President Trump's first full year in office, which we will mark next week on January 20th. Mining and logging workers are on track for an increase of $2,200. Construction, $1,400 for that extra amount. And in manufacturing, on track to gain $1,300. Now, cars have become more affordable under President Trump. The latest report showing that vehicle prices continue to decline as President Trump's policies power automakers to their best sales since 2019. So we're seeing that with a robust economy that seems to be building up very quickly here as we look to a golden era that is focused on midterms when it comes to affordability, the cost of health insurance, to the cost of daycare, and the cost of the affordability on the American home. Those three major factors President Trump focused in on like an eagle, laser-eyed and locked on getting that done, all while removing Nicolas Maduro, the narco-trafficking terrorist alleged of doing just that, killing hundreds of thousands of lives, or being responsible responsible for that trade, and inflation rate that we can only imagine, as ghastly and terrible as it was for the people of Venezuela. 8 million refugees coming here to America alone, with celebrations in Chile, to Spain, and around the world for freedom, because communism brought no choice. And I watched recently a video on Instagram with a Venezuelan national who came to America and was in tears over what took place, because she said, I came to America and I went to the grocery store and there's so many options and it's so full, and it's easy to take for granted the many blessings we have as Americans, and those 8 million refugees who have now become part of that American story, making their home in the free sunshine state of Florida and taking to the streets and celebrating with Venezuelan flags what is happening in real time. And the same goes for Iran, but sadly, as that is all happening, reports of thousands and thousands of protesters dying in the process against the mullahs, again, revolting from the stagnation and inflation happening from their government. And God be with the people of Iran. And we hope that more Starlinks are able to go up and get online, thanks to the help of Elon Musk and others, so that people can actually have conversations with those on the inside, as the government has ordered shutdowns of all of that outside communication. It's President Trump encouraging those freedom fighters to continue the protest, to continue to make Iran great again, and has threatened next steps potentially in this ongoing conflict. Also, an extension of Operation Hawkeye from last month in retaliation for the 2 service members and 1 translator killed by Boko Haram, ISIS-connected terrorists in northern Syria, with the blessings of the Syrian government. President Trump ordering those strikes as well. So this is 4D chess happening in real time, and it's important to stay tuned to great networks here like Right Side Broadcasting Network, who gives you the reality of what's happening on the ground in a live desk format, and giving you unbridled access to every press conference, every bill signing, everything happening surrounding the 45th and 47th President of the United States, the 50th Vice President, and the 119th Congress, because we want you to know what's happening on the ground each and every day in your federal city and even in your neck of the woods, and how that's going to affect you and your family in an ever-changing environment, because we have America First peace restraint policies that are actually working. And you have people like Senator Warner out of the Commonwealth of Virginia all of a sudden claiming that he is this peace dove, and that President Trump, in his words, illegally striking these areas, or attacking, as he put it, places like Syria, Iran, and Venezuela. And nothing could be further from the truth with these amazing surgical strikes detailed by the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, General Dan Raisin Kane, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, along with CIA Chief John Ratcliffe, and our military to counterintelligence and espionage forces to local, state, and federal law enforcement. Hats off to these amazing people who tirelessly devote their careers and are willing to put their lives on the line to protect America. Even the operation on January 2nd, leading to 150 American aircraft in Venezuela, and no Americans injured in that pursuit of an individual who was literally poisoning and killing Americans with the drug trade. And time was up. As Secretary of State Marco Rubio put it, when this president says something, he means it. It's not going to be the way it was under the last several living former predecessors of Donald John Trump, who either did not know how to handle a situation or were on the other side of history. Barack Hussein Obama funded millions and trafficked, laundered perhaps, those monies to the Iranian regime. Why would you do that? For appeasement? He truly was the weakest president, perhaps one of the worst in the modern era, and one that showed a weakness prior to World War II that we saw in some leaders throughout the world, including Neville Chamberlain, before the great Winston Churchill took the reins as the UK Prime Minister. In the meantime, we await President Trump to participate in this bill signing ceremony in the Oval Office. And we can actually go back, in case you missed it, for the press gaggle just yesterday. In case it goes right to the president, we'll toss it there to you at the Oval Office. In the meantime, enjoy some of his comments on Venezuela, Iran, and the issues that be before he traveled to the Detroit Economic Club and the tour of the Ford Motor Company in Dearborn, Michigan.
We had great numbers introduced today. We had a wonderful speech in front of great people in Detroit, mostly in the car business, and we're setting records in manufacturing. It's going very well. I think people appreciated what I had to say in terms of the numbers. So we're very happy about that. I'm going back to the White House now. We're going to look at the whole situation that's going on in Iran. Really bad stuff. Minnesota is going to have to take care of itself for a little while. We have tremendous theft and fraud going on in that state because you have an incompetent governor, grossly incompetent governor, and a corrupt governor. But we'll straighten that out. But Iran is on my mind when I see the kind of death that is happening over there, we think. So we're going to get some accurate numbers. I'll have it in about 20 minutes. We'll get some accurate numbers as to what's happening with regard to the killing. The killing looks like it's significant, but we don't know yet for certain. I'll know within 20 minutes. So, and we'll act accordingly.
How can you ensure that U.S. airstrikes, if it comes to that, will have the result of protecting the protesters?
Well, you never know, do you? You never know.
Do you think it's...
So far, my track record's been excellent, but you never know.
Do you think it's going to be something kinetic like that, or more like cyber? Or
well, I can't tell you that. I know exactly what it would be. We have to make a decision.
Sir,
but I can't be. Obviously, I can't be telling you.
Timeline? Yeah, timeline.
Sir, Jamie Dimon said today that it's not a great idea to be chipping away at the Fed's independence. Do you think Jamie Dimon's wrong about that?
Yeah, I think it's fine what I'm doing. We have a bad Fed person. He was extended by Biden. And yeah, I think he's wrong. I think it's wrong. He's done a bad job. We should have lower rates. Jamie Dimon probably wants higher rates. Maybe he makes more money that way.
Mr. President, Jamie Dimon also was talking about the 10% credit card. The House Speaker said that it could have negative side effects if it was imposed through Congress. Are you concerned about that? Have you talked about?
No, I'm not. I think that people that are paying 28% interest should be protected. We're talking about for a one-year period, but when you have a bank, whether it's Jamie Dimon or anybody else, charging people 28, 32%, 30%, 31%, one case 35%, no, I'll help those people. That's all right. It's a 1 year, 10%. Let the people have a break.
Mr. President, you said that you're going to be cutting off funding for sanctuary cities on February 1st.
That's right.
What kind of funding?
You'll see. It'll be significant.
Mr. President, on healthcare, is there something that you can do with insurance companies to bring down premiums like you're doing with credit cards?
I'm going to meet with the insurance companies, but I want the money to go directly to the people. Simple. Into a healthcare savings account, but directly to the people so the people can buy their own health care.
On Thursday will be the 6-year anniversary of you signing the Phase 1 trade deal with China, the signature on it. Would that deal open Chinese markets to U.S. goods? It protected intellectual property. Can we get back to that?
Yeah, we can. We're doing very well with China. Have a great relationship with President Xi, as you obviously know. We're doing really well. We're making a lot of money with China.
But can you open their markets to U.S. goods?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think it's going to happen.
Iran says that it will retaliate in the instance of U.S. strikes against U.S. assets in the Middle East. What do you say to U.S. service members about why it's worth the risk to intervene in Iran?
Yeah, Iran said that the last time I blew them up with the nuclear capability, which they don't have any longer. So Iran said that the last time. They better behave.
The Intel stock is really high after you invested. Are you going to invest more in Intel?
I like it. So, well, I don't know about Intel, but I'll invest more in other things.
What other companies?
As you know, Intel came to see me. They needed help. And I said, I'll help you, but I want 10% of your company to go to the United States of America. And we made, because of that deal, tens of billions of dollars. The stock went very up and very high, and we made tens of billions of dollars. They walked away and they gave us a lot of money, but they did a great deal for themselves because their stock has gone up. As soon as we went in, Apple went in, NVIDIA went in, a lot of smart people went in, they followed us. So yeah, we're doing that. We've done other of those deals. In Alaska, we did a deal where we got a big piece of a company where we were helping them to get a road. We're the only ones that could have done it. And we said we want something out of the company for the United States of America, okay? So I believe in that. We have some other ones that we're looking at. I believe in that. If it's up to us, if they can't do it without us, and then I say, well, we'll do it. If you were a private guy, you'd say, what do we get for doing it? Now, I don't want anything for myself. I want our country to be rich as hell. But with Intel, we made billions and billions of dollars, right?
So, Mr. President, on Iran, do you have a message for the leaders currently of Iran?
Yeah, the message is they've got to show humanity. They've got a big problem, and I hope they're not going to be killing people. And I'm going to have a report very soon. It would seem to me that they have been badly misbehaving, but that is not confirmed.
Sir, you mentioned the 1980 hostage rescue effort that ended in disaster.
Well, it was a disaster for Jimmy Carter. They had all sorts of problems, and the helicopters were crashing and everything. You know what it was? The exact opposite of Venezuela. Do you agree with that? Do you agree? As a reporter, who are you with? Who are you with?
I'm with the Financial Times, sir.
Oh, good. What's a nice paper?
So are you committing not to sending U.S. troops into Iran?
Why would I tell you that? Why would I?
Mr. President,
I don't talk about military strategy with a reporter, you know?
Mr. President,
even though I do like the Financial Times.
Are you consulting with our allies regarding Iran? What are they telling you, and why do you think the Iranian...
Well, I'm not going to tell you what they're telling me.
Why do you think the Iranian leadership continues to defy you, Mr. President?
You think they are?
Well,
it's only been a couple of days.
They continue to kill protesters.
Well, they said that about Venezuela, too, you know? It's only been a couple of days. They haven't defied me. They haven't done anything as far as we're concerned. But it looks like they're killing a lot of people, but it has not been confirmed. I'll know very soon.
The premier of Greenland said today, we prefer to stay with Denmark. Do you see that as the
Who
final
said
word?
that?
The premier of Greenland.
Well, that's their problem. That's their problem. I disagree with them. I don't know who he is. Don't know anything about him. But that's going to be a big problem for him.
Do you want to see democracy in Iran?
Ideally, you'd like to see it. But what we want to see is we don't want to see people killed. And we want to see a little bit of freedom for these people. These people have been living in hell for a long time. You know, that used to be a hell of a country. I have friends that used to invest in Iran. And they did well with their investments. It was a great place. The people were great. Even the leadership was good. And now it's living in hell. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. President.
And as promised, we have our good friend Scott Cheney over from Monetary Gold. He's a senior trade executive and senior management portfolio individual, your go-to guy for everything when it comes to wealth, security, and preservation here in the United States. And Scott, always great to see you. Please go over some of the pricing when it comes to gold and silver and what we're seeing out there in the market.
Well, Robert, God bless you. Good seeing you too. How have you been, by the way?
Oh, doing very well, my friend. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's a very, very busy time for us right now in the new year. Obviously, a lot of news when it comes to gold and silver right now. Gold, spot price right now for gold is $4,614. Silver, again, I said it on your show over and over, and I'm going to continue to say it, Robert. It just hit an all-time high. We're over $90 right now. And people see that hitting a three-digit number, you know, $100 or more. Just today, silver's over 5%. Going over the numbers, silver in the last 30 days has hit over 36%. So people bought 30 days ago. Their portfolio is now ahead over 36%. If they bought in the last 6 months, it already doubled. It over doubled at 128%. So things are really not slowing down. People are buying gold and silver. And I know I continue to say this and I harp on it, but silver is not just a safe haven asset. Silver is something that has dual assets right now when it comes to it. What I mean by that is there's a lot of influence on it. Okay. It's needed right now, and our country is running out of it. So it's in very high demand. And when you have silver in high demand and it's hard to get, what does that mean for everyone around the world? Well, the pricing goes up. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. And we're live as we speak, that our phones are ringing. We're speaking to customers every day, and we're putting them in both gold and silver. But right now, silver is a very strong asset that we see continuing to get more and more expensive. So we're really happy to see where it is. And I know 3 months ago, we talked about it when silver was at $45.
Right. And it's just rapidly increasing. Unlike, I think in my lifetime, I've never seen the numbers rise this fast. And can you go over those opportunities specifically with silver and how that's all affected by supply chain and demand? And I'm sure with President Trump on Friday meeting with oil and gas executives, that has to come into play here when it comes to people diversifying their wealth and securities and preservation for everything they worked hard for.
So with silver, exactly, there's a deficiency in our country, okay? We're using silver a lot to build things right now. And I've spoken about that on your show. But right now, January 1st, I know that we brought up China. China plays a major role, and here's why it's such a big deal. The Chinese influence on the silver market isn't just about production, okay? And we printed this hot off the press right here. What's going on right now is recent policies have changed silver, okay? They tightened their export, meaning it's really hard to get now. I believe there's only 44 companies that are able to export goods right now when it comes to silver. What that means for the United States and what that means for us, or just individuals that hold precious metals or hold silver, is there's tighter global silver supply. Okay? It's a challenge. We're running out. People are buying it. Right now, you go to the Mint's website, silver, it's sold like you can't buy it. It's hard to get right now. So tighter global silver supply. Also, you're seeing higher prices. It's increasing almost every day. And I went 6 months ago, it's already hit over 100% in the last 6 months. So a safe haven asset, and we're seeing prices rise. And then the premiums of this physical silver and of these physical markets are going up in value, not just in the United States, Robert, but they're going up around the world right now. Silver hit an all-time high right now in the Chinese market. So it's a global asset that people are seeing, not just as potential of, oh, this is a good opportunity. They're seeing it rising, and it's increasing in demand. So it has that dual complex to really increase in value even more. Another thing that I want to mention is our debt right now. Our debt is climbing. And this is as of November 2025. I'm going to take you back a little bit. Every second, our country is going into $69,140 in debt every second. Now, when you break that down, that's around $580 million per hour and $14 billion per day. That's adding $1 trillion to our country in debt every 71 days. Now, wow. Donald Trump, President Trump, he's doing everything to slow that down, so the numbers are fluctuating this year. But we're still seeing a rise. Inflation is an issue, and there are problems. And so people right now, they are stepping away from this fiat dollar, and they're moving into hard assets like gold and silver. And I'm more than happy to walk your your listeners through that. More importantly than anything, Robert, I'm here. I want to help people. And if we can't help you, we don't want to work with you. My job here on this earth, I want to do the will of the Father in heaven. I'm a believer. I love Jesus. I believe in gold and silver right now, and I believe that every American citizen should be owning it. And if you call that number right now, you could get, I'm going straight back to the phones. I will walk you through the steps on what it looks like, whether you're looking to protect cash in the bank or whether you're looking to protect a retirement account or an IRA. I'll walk you through the steps. We'll go over the different asset classes of gold and silver, whether it's bars, rounds, specific coins that you're looking for, whether you're looking to hold long term or short term, depending on all your goals. We'll go over that and then put you into the best asset classes that fit your needs. And again, we've been in the business for over 25 years now, and we've seen the markets go up and we've seen the markets go down. And we have a really, really strong hand on what we're looking at right now. And silver should be on everybody's list to purchase.
And that's why I love monetary gold, because it does make a difference, not just the exact metals you're purchasing, but from who it's coming from. And being in business for over 25 years, the A+ Better Business Bureau rating, you've earned that with clarity and honesty. And what I like the most, I think, is that one size does not fit all. And really the ability to work directly with customers to make a robust plan as they really look out for their own financial future, and in many cases, the financial future of their families.
Yeah, exactly. And this is wealth that you could hold. Everything we deal with, Robert, is a physical asset. It's not paper gold. It's not tied to the US dollar. It's a hedge against the dollar. So when we are selling you gold and silver, it's not a currency that goes with the dollar. It's not tied to the US dollar. So if something happens to the US dollar and there's a potential crash, or the stock market completely just gets wiped out, your physical assets will be worth something with gold and silver. And one other thing that I'd like to touch on, Robert, is really when we're looking at the market cap. When you look at the market cap of gold and silver, it's around $30 to $38 trillion. Okay, crypto and when people are buying cryptocurrency, obviously we've seen stuff with security issues, the potential of people logging into your account and just wiping out your whole bankroll when it comes to that. There's a $3 to $4 trillion market cap in crypto. So again, $3 to $4 trillion market cap in crypto. You have $30 to $38 trillion in gold and silver. We do not see it going anywhere. We love to say here, it is God's money. It's been around this earth for a very, very long time, since the beginning of time. And I'm happy to sell it. I believe in it. And we're looking forward to working with you. Call that number now. If you have an IRA or a 401k, we'll get you started.
It's exciting. And ask about those IRA fees and potentially waiving them with Scott and his team out there in Los Angeles, California. The number is 888-617-7994. That's RSBN4thegold.com. And Scott, I've been telling people hopefully they can wear that proverbial gold around their neck, but of course they can hold it. It's tangible right before the Italian Olympics coming up in February.
Yeah.
So a great way to celebrate all that.
I'm excited to see the Olympics. I was a college athlete. I wrestled for the University of Oklahoma. So the discipline that these athletes have, it's tremendous. And more importantly, the Christian athletes. I love people that glorify our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And any of your audience listening right now, the Lord has a plan for you. He has a purpose for you. He loves you. He's not here to harm you. And we're called to come to him and build relationship with him. And I get to speak to him. I'm a child of God, so I speak to him like he's my father. And he's changed and transformed my life. And I am so thankful to walk with him, especially during this crazy, crazy time in this world.
Well, we appreciate your testimony, Scott, and you remind me of an individual who looks right to Romans 8:28 and wants to do the bidding and the will of God, and how important it is to remember, because it can be stressful for us, but the Bible reminds us once a day, exactly 365 times in some way, shape, or form, be not afraid as we steward what's truly His and these amazing assets that He has blessed us with. It's Scott Cheney. He is a senior trade executive and senior portfolio manager right there at Monetary Gold on that Golden Coast of Los Angeles, California. Thank you, my friend, for all this great information, very tangible. And we look forward to inviting everyone to RSBN4thegold.com. Once again, 888-617-7994. Give Scott and his team a call today and go with really the best in the business. It's Monetary Gold.
Robert, I appreciate you. It's a pleasure speaking with you. I wish you and your staff the very, very best.
Well, thank you, my friend. Likewise, God bless you, and we'll see you again very soon.
God bless you.
And we are getting all amped up for President Trump for a bill signing ceremony just moments away from now. Once that happens, we will bring you there live to the West Wing, the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue for this bill signing ceremony. In the meantime, we will squeeze on in another sponsorship commercial so you can hear all about those great people that are supporting Right Side Broadcasting Network and the right side of history, like our dear friend Scott Cheney, who we just spoke with from Monetary Gold. At 2:36 Eastern, stick with us here. You're on the right side of history.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door. Breaking news from the White House at 2:37, roughly 10 minutes ago, releasing the email as President Trump tackles housing affordability progress emerging and more relief on the horizon. Good afternoon to you. I'm Robert McNeely as we look forward to President Trump just moments away. Stick with us. A bill signing ceremony at the Oval Office. President Trump delivering on a bold action to address the housing challenges facing American families following years of rising costs under Joe Biden. And new data showing the emergence of improvement and encouraging those signs of improvement to live the American dream. Now, with mortgage rates trending lower and lower, home sales gaining momentum, and income growth supporting buyers, there is clear momentum as President Trump works to restore the American dream of home ownership for all Americans. Home sales rebounding. Existing home sales in December rose sharply to the strongest pace in the last 3 years. This led by robust gains in the nation's biggest home selling region as income growth outpaces home price gains. Now, affordability is improving. The First American Real House Price Index reflects ongoing gains in housing affordability, with recent months showing the longest stretch of annual improvement in years. Meanwhile, the National Association of Retailers Housing Affordability Index, measuring the typical family's ability to qualify for a mortgage, has risen to its highest level in nearly 3 years as median family incomes climb and rates ease. Now, borrowing costs continue to fail as well. This is also crucial. If you're familiar with any of what's happened in the number of the last few years, whether it be with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and lending, and when it comes to The Big Short, if you're familiar with that film starring Steve Carell, and some of what the banks had promised and lent out, and some being reckless at times, but that all getting streamlined through the works of this administration and private and public partnerships. Borrowing costs continue to fall. The average 30-year fixed mortgage rate has dipped to multi-year lows, driving monthly housing payments to their most affordable levels in over 2 years and providing critical relief for prospective buyers. More relief coming as President Trump has undertaken an aggressive agenda to tackle housing challenges head on, including directing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to purchase $200 billion in mortgage-backed securities costs and taking action to ban large investors acquiring single-family homes, ensuring more inventory remains available for everyday Americans. The Trump administration remains committed to cutting this red tape, boosting supply, and delivering lasting affordability so every American can achieve the dream of home ownership. And it's nothing that we necessarily deserve, but we are afforded a government of the people, by the people, for the people, as the Gettysburg Address featured with President Abraham Lincoln on those hallowed grounds, to speak of a kind of government that should serve the people and not be in its way. And that's been the case more often than not in the last decade of home ownership, and the fact that President Trump taking it to these big corporations that were buying up and continue to attempt to buy up single-family homes in order to either knock them down or use them as grounds for building rental properties and to continue to push a renting nation. But it's his policies, his administration, and specifically what's happening with the U.S. Trade Ambassador, Jamieson Greer, the Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, his economic team that is focused on bringing more wealth and gains to the American middle class. Because when the middle class is robust and strong, we have a strong American economy as a result of that. And we will look forward to continued gains in those movements, as President Trump has really highlighted that in the last several hours. The cost of insurance, bringing that down, working with those insurance companies. Also, in turn, oil and gas, dealing what's the next step with Venezuela. 2, what's happening with, again, the American dream and those housing affordability costs. And ultimately, how to curb that inflation as it continues to go down. So this President Trump is playing 4D chess in real time as we await for participation in a bill signing ceremony from the White House just moments from now. In case you did miss it, just yesterday, that big speech to the Detroit Economic Club and the tour of the Dearborn, Michigan Ford plant and everything that is happening there. President Trump also, if we have those photos, Mr. Producer, from the last hour, signing the hood of a Ford F-150, and a company that was really in a lot of trouble over really the last decade, making an amazing American comeback unlike any other. And we saw earlier on in the term, the last Warren Township, Michigan, near there for the 100-day ceremony. We were on the ground for that, all the celebrations with the United Auto Workers. So from Ford CEOs and their top dogs in the corporate structure to those who were on the ground in the plant with their boots, working hard to resurrect this amazing built American Ford icon. You're seeing a resurrection in the automobile industry and really allowing choice. The whole EV mandate issue was really at hand here. And now we've seen, because of the private sector moving back into it, whether it be EV or even gas and oil, you have options and you have low interest rates to the ability to get tax cuts as a result of purchasing certain vehicles per the federal government. So there's ways to bring yourself relief, whether you own your own business or simply are looking for that right vehicle to serve your needs or even your business's needs. And Ford's leading that way. Back to even Toyota and Hyundai. Their plants, they've moved everything practically here to America, or at least for America to lead in the Southeast, almost creating this competition between the Motor City of Detroit, Michigan, and Ford, and with its counterparts from Japan and South Korea, Toyota and Hyundai respectively, along with Kia, that Hyundai does own in Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina with their plants as well. Just 30 minutes from here, you have the big Kia plant that is about 8 football fields long and employing many people, not only in the Yellowhammer State here in Alabama, but the Peach State right across the border, just there outside of LaGrange, Georgia. So you see all this manufacturing and these facilities popping up right here at home. And it's a proud moment for all involved, I guess, unless you're a Democrat, as it seems if their whole agenda, and it's those elected Democrats in Washington, be against everything Trump is for, and vice versa, anything he's against, be for it. And we've seen that with President Trump joking on the campaign trail over the course of a decade plus that I should have just said, I don't want open borders, or I do want open borders. I don't want a wall, etc. Be the open borders president like Joe Biden was. And then the Democrats, they would have loved to build the wall. They would have loved border security. Of course, it's somewhat in jest, but does it seem as not that their entire mantra is to remain united, stick together, as President Trump puts it, and they look at doing everything to harm this country and simply being against this president because they find that in some way, shape, or form that might help them electorally? Well, we will see that come this year in the midterms. Now, visa processing has halted. The White House is suspending visa processing for people in 75 countries to filter out applicants likely to rely on government benefits. So this is breaking news and interesting, and probably perhaps President Trump could highlight this over the course of the bill signing ceremony, as it's sure to go into a question and answer session and a press briefing in its own right, as these events normally do. President Trump launching investigations into numerous politicians since returning to office, and we might find out where those probes stand now. Also, Iran's information war. Tehran is deploying GPS jamming and house raids to hunt Starlink users that had been funded and shared via Elon Musk in order to get internet into the country so that the outside world can know exactly what's going on. Some reports saying that over 2,000 have been murdered. Even I saw a report that perhaps even into the 20,000s potentially over the course of the last few days. And it's tremendous courage being shown by the Iranian people against an oppressive regime and the mullahs who, again, are hell-bent on the destruction of the United States of America, Israel, and really any Western ally. It's frightening to see, and President Trump putting an end to those 12 days war last summer with the strikes in Tehran that really, I think, shifted mindset and impressed the world upon what the United States military can do. And if there's any doubt of what it can achieve so swiftly, just look to Venezuela over the last roughly 2 weeks. Now, Greenland really in focus as well, as President Trump mentioning last Friday that he doesn't care if ships just came there from the Kingdom of Denmark 500 years ago. They are not caring for their share of defense, and NATO playing a key role in all of this. Without President Trump in office, NATO would have been depleted, and we started to see the beginning of that depletion during the Russian invasion of Ukraine under the auto pen. So many of these issues having global geopolitical strains and changes upon countless continents throughout the country. Also, someone near and dear to our hearts here in Alabama, Claudette Colvin. Her legacy, she passed away Tuesday at just 15 years old when she refused to give up her bus in segregated Montgomery, Alabama. So that legacy being remembered right here in the Yellowhammer State, and a name that is perhaps not as known in every single household like Rosa Parks' name is held in the history books, but someone who was a brave teenager as well, in so much changing in the last several decades, especially now that the Southeast, arguably the most robust and the most free place in the United States. I mean, this collection of what was once the Confederacy, what once saw the Jim Crow laws really becoming much more Republican over the course of the last 2 decades in state and local politics. And what has come as a result is, as I mentioned before, automotive world leaders coming right here to the Southeast, as well as business opportunities and the tech world. Just look next door to the Peach State of Georgia that has taken nearly every industry of California because of their over-regulation and their burdensome that the state government has put upon its citizens. From Hollywood to tech to other business ventures, Atlanta really is the place to be. So amazing to see that change as we are watching all of that very closely. Also in South Carolina, measles on the rise there. In case you missed it, South Carolina health officials recording 124 new measles cases in a 5-day stretch, and that was announced by the department on Tuesday. So we will watch that all extremely closely as former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton declining to testify in the House investigation of Jeffrey Epstein. Congressman Comer, the chairman of that committee, pledging to hold them in contempt. We will watch that story as it's really interesting to those calling for transparency on the Epstein files, which were ultimately released by Republican leadership and by President Trump. So we'll watch all of that closely as we are looking at that transgender case back on the high court. In case you missed it from earlier coverage in this live stream, we do have some oral arguments and hearing from those. We can replay that for you with cut number 1, Mr. Producer. And in case the president does come on board, we will shift that right over to the Oval Office for you in a bill signing ceremony expected just moments from now.
We're indifferent to a person's gender identity in applying the law.
But the law actually operates differently, I think. For cisgender women and transgender women. That is, with respect to their desire to play on a team that matches their gender identity, cisgender women can do it, transgender women cannot. And so we do appreciate a distinction, I think, that is being drawn on the basis of your gender status, gender identity status, trans or cis, right?
So, and I want to make sure I understand
Yes.
if we're operating in Title IX world or equal protection world, because I think it might make a difference to the answer. But
okay, let's start with Title IX.
So Title IX, I think the question of, I look at this statute and see a distinction between boy and girl indifferent to gender identity. And I think that...
Right, but I'm testing that proposition, right? You see that distinction, and I see it too on the separation of teams level at the beginning.
Right, and I think what I'm hearing is that that distinction arises from a difference in effect, and I don't see a disparate impact analysis that's sort of hidden away in Title IX.
But why is that a difference in effect? So it's like a second order discrimination, right? The first order is separating male from female.
Right.
The second order is separating transgender women from cisgender women, right?
Respectfully, I would disagree.
No.
And really amazing comments and questions, as should be posed always, but biological sex teaches us that there are two genders, male and female, and whether you're a believer or not, it really shouldn't make a difference. But amazing questions happening there during oral arguments from the High Court. Get all America First updates and exclusive offers at rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. There you can like, share, and subscribe just about anything in regards to the right side of history. We have great writers at this network you might not be aware of outside of our broadcasts, so you could dive in deep on these many critical and crucial issues affecting the American experiment on a daily basis. And I promise we won't bug you too much, but it gives you updates on when we're coming on live, to, again, reading those while you're at the coffee house or kicking back on the news of the day. So again, all America First updates, exclusive offers at rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. And at the top of the hour, we'll have a very special guest coming on for a few moments before we go to the White House to speak with or see the President of the United States as he presents that bill signing ceremony, and I'm sure a press conference to follow, as he normally does, as this is the most accessible president in modern history, an administration that is extraordinarily transparent. So we'll take a quick commercial break for those sponsors right now. Stick with us here on the right side of history.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door. Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Soon we will participate in this bill signing ceremony. We'll see the president just moments from now. So we'll take you there to the Oval Office and the White House to dive on into the news and any updates from the White House today. And also we'll be joined very momentarily by a special guest to dive into some of his floor discussions and what he was able to accomplish outside of the Supreme Court of the United States. Some big cases on the docket for this term of the Supreme Court of the United States, and one now being this transgender question case and whether or not these folks who feel that they are another gender or something else, or as you heard from Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, that they might be cisgender, whatever that is, feel like they have access to the other sex's locker room or even playing in their sports. That question going all the way up to the top of the Supreme Court. And we also do have the big question on tariffs that President Trump watching very closely there. We were anticipating perhaps a ruling before the new year, but that might be pushed back to June. So we'll watch that, as there are so many high-profile cases in federal court, in state courts, and even outside of the United States Supreme Court, watching in regards to these trafficking trials, the narco trafficking, of course, the Maduro, his wife, Ms. Flores, in a jail cell in New York City, not far from Luigi Mangione, who is alleged to have killed the CEO of United Healthcare. And that sad question that some seem to celebrate death in this country, and that these individuals might be justified somehow for their actions. But we are, thank God, a system that is ruled by law, not by individuals. 3 branches of government, and civics education, a very important thing to continue going, whether it is public or private entities, to homeschooling and knowing in this golden era just who we are as the American people right here at home, and everything that we represent and stand for as one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There's one big tent movement that is looking to do just that, and it's no question the Make America Great Again movement that has become bigger than just one person. Looks as if we have an open view of the president in the Oval Office. We'll toss it there now to the White House.
Read the first 2 items, and we're going to get going after that. We'll be talking about a couple of things. We have some news on Iran, which we're going to talk about.
So shortly before you all came in, the president signed 2 executive actions. The first is the result of a Section 232 trade investigation into critical minerals supplies. What it does is it sets up a mechanism, a process by which the United States will seek to secure its international supply chain of critical minerals and critical mineral-derived products. The second is actually the result of another Section 232 trade investigation, this one into semiconductors. It sets up a 2-phase process. Under the first phase, semiconductors that are imported into the United States of America that are not then used domestically to build out our AI or computing architecture here will be subject to a 25% tariff. So, for example, semiconductors that were transshipped through the United States to other foreign countries would be subject to that 25% tariff. But those are 2 executive actions that the president reviewed shortly before you all came in.
So they're going to sell chips, basically, and it's a chip. It's not the highest level, but it's a very good level, and China wants them and other people want them, and we're going to be making 25% on the sale of those chips, basically. So we're allowing them to do it, but the United States is getting 25% of the chips in terms of the dollar value, and I think it's a very good deal, great deal. We're taking billions of dollars, and they've done a fantastic job. But it's not the Blackwell or the Rubin; those are the 2 top. But it's a very good chip, and people want it, and we think it's in our best interest to do. And we have some other little things to talk about. Maybe we'll start that first. Should I start that first? I think they're going to want me to. I have a feeling they're going to want me to. We have been notified, and pretty strongly, but we'll find out what that all means. But we've been told that the killing in Iran is stopping. It's stopped. It's stopping. And there's no plan for executions or executions. So I've been told that on good authority. We'll find out about it. I'm sure if it happens, we'll all be very upset, including you will be very upset. But that's just gotten to me, some information that the killing has stopped, that the executions have stopped. They're not going to have an execution, which a lot of people were talking about for the last couple of days. Today was going to be the day of execution. And another piece of information that I think is very important is the leaker has been found and is in jail right now. And that's the leaker on Venezuela. And a very bad leaker. So there could be some others, and we'll let you know about that. We're hot on their trail. But the leaker has been found, and the leaker's in jail. And will probably be in jail for a long time. Let's see what happens. So we'll let you know. We'll keep you apprised. as to what's going to happen with that. And I want to thank all of the incredible people behind me, political people, both Republicans and Democrats, because they like whole milk. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, whole milk is, right? That's a great thing. The senator was in the office many years ago. It feels like many years ago, but quite a while ago, right at the beginning of my first term.
Yeah, with Elijah Cummings.
Right, with Elijah, a very good person. You and I had a good relationship with him. At that time, I think you were a congressman, and you've made a lot of progress. You've done very well.
Some would disagree.
I don't disagree. I think you've done a great job. But it's great. It's great to have you here again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So today, I'm delighted to sign the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act into law, which is a very important thing for our farmers, and I think maybe more important for our people, right? The people that drink milk. This is the first bill signing of the new year, and it will ensure that millions of school-aged children have access to high-quality milk as we make America healthy again. I want to thank Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins, who's behind me, Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Senators John Boozman and Mike Crapo, Roger Marshall, Peter Welch, as well as Representative G.T. Thompson and Tim Wahlberg, all great people. Also with us today is USDA National Nutrition Advisor Dr. Ben Carson, my friend for a long time. We went head-to-head, and it was not easy going head-to-head with Ben. He still looks good. That's because he drinks a lot of milk. And some of our nation's wonderful dairy farmers and their children. They're going to be farmers for a long time, we hope. As it currently stands, schools participating in the National School Lunch Program are only able to offer students low or non-fat milk options. That was changed during the Obama administration, and a lot of people disagreed with it at the time. With this legislation, schools will finally be able to expand their offerings to include nutritious whole milk. It's actually a legal definition, whole milk. And it's whole with a W for those of you that have a problem. Most of the media will get that. This is the perfect follow-up to the new real food pyramid, and Secretary Kennedy and Secretary Rollins announced that last week. You probably heard. This legislation also allows parents to directly request a substitute for milk for children with dairy intolerance. Previously, parents were required to submit a written statement from a doctor, but we're eliminating that rather ridiculous policy, allowing parents to choose what is best for their child, which is a big move. Hard to believe that that would be a big thing, but it is. And of course, these changes will be major victories for the American dairy farmers, who we love and who voted for me in great numbers, I will say. I think I got every one of them. In December, I also signed the Secure Rural Schools Reauthorization Act, and I'm proud to say that these two pieces of legislation will give school-aged children across the country the resources and support that they need, not just to succeed, but really to thrive in life and later on in life. So I want to ask Secretary Rollins to say a few things, and then I'd like to ask Secretary Kennedy and Dr. Carson. I'd also like to hear from these great political leaders, senators, congressmen, if they'd like to say something. I'd be honored. So, Brooke, do you want to start?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And what a joy and an honor it is to be here. I feel like I have the best job in the world with representing all of these farmers. And Mr. President, not in our lifetime, has been a president who loves and supports our farmers more, and certainly the dairy farmers. I want to thank all of our farmers here today, sir. Most of them are 5th and 6th generation. They represent states from all across our country, and bringing the children to and seeing what the next generation of dairy farmers looks like. The amazing thing is some of these farmers back here from Butler, Pennsylvania, he milks.
Where?
Butler, Pennsylvania.
I love Butler. I do.
Yeah, they love you. They love you. But he milks about 40 to 60 cows. And then we have Jamie from Wisconsin, who milks about 5,000 cows. So they represent all across the spectrum.
Wow.
And what this means. And I think it's important to note that in the last year, your support for these American farmers, for rural America. The One Big Beautiful bill was the largest investment in rural America in history. I think that's important to note. The trade, and I see my friend Jameson Greer over there and Howard Letnick on this end, we've opened up more than 24 different markets. Milk exports, dairy exports are up 23% just in the last year. And when you think about the ag deficit that happened under Joe Biden and the 4 years, we went from a surplus of agriculture products when we left the first time to a $50 billion deficit when we came back.
Yep.
So these are massive, massive wins for America, and I think it's important to note that. I also want to note, and you said it as well, that over a decade ago, Michelle Obama, in this very room, made an announcement on a short-sighted campaign to ditch the whole milk in schools, and that's what we're working to fix today. Last week, Bobby Kennedy and Ben Carson and Dr. Oz and the whole crew, sir, announced the Dietary Guidelines for Americans 2025 to 2030, which also reintroduced full-fat dairy into a healthy diet. And today, by signing this bill, Senator Marshall and Congressman Thompson and both all the wonderful men to the right who worked so hard on this, Peter Welsh, it is a bipartisan issue, and understanding where we are in this country and how important the health of certainly our children are is so important. USDA is posting today the guidance. So we're signing the bill, and USDA, we're moving at Trump time, is posting today the new rulemaking that is necessary to get whole milk back into school lunches. So that's a really, really big deal.
So how long will that take?
It should just take a few weeks, and then the milk starts moving in. So it's a big announcement, sir, for our schools and our children. And I know Secretary Kennedy will talk a little bit about the health issues, so I won't do that. I'll skip over that. You mentioned, and the last thing I'll say, I know we're here to sign the bill on whole milk, but Senator Crapo's work and our wonderful friend Doug LaMalfa, who we lost way too soon,
right.
Their work on securing Rural Schools Reauthorization Act, how important that too is for rural America. 700 eligible rural counties across the nation are now guaranteed funds for schools and roads and infrastructure. So, sir, you say it all the time. Those are your people. They voted for you and with us and saw your vision from the beginning. This is who we're here to support today, in addition to the whole milk for healthy schools, which will help all children. Just remember, eat real food and drink whole milk. What a joy again it is to be here, and I especially want to thank all of our incredible farmers for what you do. So, sir, with that, I'll turn it over to Secretary Kennedy.
And just before you do that, how are we doing with food prices, bringing them down?
Yes, sir. Well, I'm glad you asked, because I brought a chart, and that just happened to be right behind me. So, speaking of milk, milk is actually way down, and I know we're here to talk about that today. Obviously,
44%.
That's right, sir.
44% down. Milk, 44% down.
Eggs is way down. Milk is way down. This is just since we took office, sir. Fresh whole chicken down 2%, cheese down, tomatoes down, butter down. Of course, eggs are way down. Potatoes down almost 3%, fresh fruits down almost 3%. But this is just the beginning. And as we continue to bring the cost of farming down, bring the cost of inputs down, open up the markets, support our farmers, we'll see even more affordability moving forward.
And eggs are down 31%, so that's really something. Where's Bobby?
Bobby's right here. I'm going to sit there.
Right here, Mr. President.
Go ahead, wherever you want. Go ahead. We like Bobby.
And I want to echo what Brooke said about finally having a president that sees the alignment between farm prosperity, good food policy, and the health of our children. These are common sense associations. Democrats have been talking about them for eons. Republicans have been talking about them. We finally have a president that is implementing these policies and getting real food to our children. Today, President Trump signs the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act of 2025, a long overdue correction to the school nutrition policy that puts children's health first. For years, Washington treated fat, especially saturated fat, as the enemy. It made a war on saturated fat. This is the peacetime president. He's made 8.5 deals ending wars, and he's also ended the war on saturated fat. As a result, whole and 2% milk disappeared from school menus, even though science has never shown that whole milk harms children. Evidence increasingly shows the opposite. The panoply of nutrients in whole milk is critical to brain development and physical development in our children. Whole and 2% milk provide 13 essential ingredients critical for growth, development, immune system function, and overall health, including protein, calcium, vitamin D, and healthy fats. Yet since these milk options were removed more than a decade ago, school milk consumption and meal participation have declined dramatically. Today, between 68% and 94% of school-age boys and girls fail to meet recommended dairy intake, according to federal guidelines. When schools limit milk choices, the kids do not move to healthier substitutes. They move to caffeinated drinks, to sugar drinks, and to sweetened beverages with little or no nutritional value and the potential to wreak havoc on metabolic health, which is driving the chronic disease epidemic in our country. During the same period that whole milk was regulated out of lunchroom, rates of childhood obesity and diabetes rose significantly. Removing whole milk did not improve health, it damaged it. Thanks to President Trump's leadership, this law fixes that mistake. It allows schools in the National School Lunch Program to offer whole, reduced fat, low fat, or fat-free, flavored or unflavored, organic or conventional. It restores choice to schools, parents, and students, and encourages consumption of nutrient-dense foods that kids will actually drink. The law also removes unnecessary bureaucracy by allowing parents or legal guardians to request milk substitutes without the necessity of involving a doctor. And it corrects a flawed technical rule by excluding fluid milk from saturated fat calculations that distorted school menus. Milk fat is not junk food. Treating it that way undermined nutrition and ignored the science. Last week, Secretary Rollins and I unveiled President Trump's new food pyramid and updated our dietary guidelines with a clear message: eat real food. This law puts that principle into action. As Secretary of Health and Human Services, I support this reform because it aligns federal policy with evidence-based nutrition, not ideology or dogma. Healthy kids need real food. They need real protein. They need healthy fats, and they need policies grounded in reality and science. I want to thank President Trump again for his vision, for signing this bill, for continuing to put children's health first. This is exactly the kind of practical change that will make America healthy again.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. We have some milk here. It's been sitting here for 5 days, so it's from the original bottle, and I brought it so the press can have some. You can swing it all out of the same. Remember the old days when we were kids, everybody shared a bottle? Today we tend not to do that, but if you'd like to, if you trust the person that you're drinking after, it's right here, it's yours, okay? It's semi-fresh, 5-6 days old. Thank you. So Ben Carson, special man, knows a lot about health. He looks better than ever, so Ben, how about it?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for being interested in the health of the people. It's made a big difference in facilitating an atmosphere where the agencies can work together. Secretary Rollins, Secretary Kennedy, Marty McCary, Dr. Oz, the whole group, every week at least meeting once to talk about these things, and it's made a big difference. And I want to thank the dairy farmers. I know you guys have been in the doghouse for a little while. You're out of the doghouse today.
Yes, sir.
And, whole milk is a wonderful beverage. Good protein. We talk about real food. It is real food. Healthy fats, important nutrients. You look at vitamin D, you look at calcium, phosphorus, the things that are absolutely essential for bone development and for teeth. But as a neurosurgeon, the thing I really like is what it does for the brain. The brain starts to develop right after conception and adds millions of neurons every single day. Continues to do that right up until the mid to late 20s. Now, it's important what that brain is getting during the development. Is it getting soda or is it getting milk?
So milk would help your cognitive ability.
Absolutely. You can tell who's been
Take a
drinking milk.
cognitive test. I've taken a lot of them. I've aced every one of them because I drink milk.
It's good for it, and it shows.
Do you consider there to be a big difference in taste between what you are having and this is just, it just looks so good sitting there, right?
Yes, sir.
It looks better. Tastes thick. Go ahead, Ben. Sorry to interrupt you.
You know, when you go to school and you give the kids milk, real milk, they love it. When you pour this stuff that looks like, dish pan water, they don't particularly want that. It doesn't taste good either. So this is a great day. It's only a part of what's happening with our emphasis on health. Our longevity has been going down. In other industrialized nations, it's been going up. And it's because we haven't been paying attention to this. That has changed, and we want to thank you for your leadership.
Well, thank you very much, Ben. Appreciate it. Appreciate all you've done, too, for the country. I'd like to ask a few of our senators to say a couple of words. Maybe we should start with the Democrat in our midst. What do you think?
Peter Welch.
Peter Welch. And thank you very much for being here, Peter.
No, thank you. Our dairy farmers are so vitally important, and they have a way of life that transmits from one generation to another, and it's tougher than ever for our dairy farmers in Vermont. Our dairy farmers in Pennsylvania and others, South Carolina, are here. But they're the lifeblood of the community. Nobody works harder, and nobody does things that are better for our nutrition. And also for our kids, I'm in agreement. The kids having access to healthy milk is good milk, whole milk, is really good for them. And one of the things that I get very excited about, that really the Vermont farmers talked about, is they have their milk from their farm that then goes directly to many of our schools. And then kids come out to the farms and start seeing how milk is made, what farming is about. That's good for America. It's not a party deal. This has been a bipartisan effort. I appreciate working with my colleague, Senator Marshall, who did a great job, and JT when I was in the House. And Tim, thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you,
President.
Peter. It's got to be like a 90-10 issue, another one of those 90-10. It's good to have you on our side. But it's a great issue, and it's a great thing to do, and we're very proud of it. We're very proud of our farmers. Senator, do you want to say a few words?
Sure, I'll be very brief. We all want to see you sign this bill. But I really appreciate you and Brooke bringing up the Secure Rural Schools legislation. This is critical legislation to our rural communities across this country, and we have to fight every couple of years to get it extended just a couple of years. And this extension we got this year went back to pick up a few years that we missed, and is going to expire again at the end of the next year. And Mr. President and Secretary, I'm going to encourage us to get back in here to sign a Secure Rural Schools bill that is permanent. I want to set a goal, or hope that you'll set a goal with me to get that done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Greg. Anybody?
Mr. President. Yeah, Mr. President, thank you so much for having us here. On behalf of Kansas dairy farmers, thank you. Milk is the most wholesome, nutritious drink known to humankind. Not only is it full of essential nutrients, it's full of healthy fats as well as protein. As Dr. Carson pointed out, those healthy fats are what helps that brain develop and help you absorb the fat-soluble vitamins. The protein is why you drink milk and you're not hungry again in 30 minutes. And I have to point out that under the previous couple administrations ago, thanks to them, we have a whole generation of young adults who have osteopenia and osteoporosis because they never drank milk for an entire generation. So getting milk back in the schools is going to give us healthy bones and healthy minds. It sticks to your ribs, and it tastes great. Thanks for your leadership. Yes, sir, Mr. President. Thank you.
Anybody? Politically first, and then we'll go to the farmers.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Mr. President, thank you so much. I want to ask Dr. Carson if there's an age limit on the cognitive ability. We're drinking a whole lot more of this. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We literally have legislators here that have worked on this for years. This is something that's been very, very difficult. You're able to help us
You
get
would
it
think
over
it
the...
would have been very easy, actually.
Exactly, but you were able to help us get it over the finish. You and your great team, Brooke, all of these people have done such a good job, not only with this issue, but all that we're doing for the farm community, which is so very important. So thank you very, very much. And I know that you're going to continue to support farmers like you have.
We do, right from the
Since you were
beginning.
elected. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Mr. President, G.T. Thompson,
Yep.
Chairman of the House Agriculture Committee. I have been working on this bill for 15 years, and thank you.
That's amazing.
Because of your support and your leadership, we were able to get this across the line.
It's such a shame that it would be so hard.
Common sense was lost, and the benefits today go to those precious children that we see over there. It goes to our dairy farm families who work so hard 7 days a week. There's no day off for a dairy farmer. And quite frankly, our rural communities who, when the misguided move to take whole milk and 2% milk and flavor out of the schools, we lost a generation, probably 2 generations of milk drinkers, and it devastated those rural communities because you lose the dairy farms, then you lose all the supplies, businesses, and then you lose grocery stores and you lose community pharmacies. Well, that day ends today with your signature. We reverse that trend and we build a robust rural economy. And I'll just close with what will be the theme of my next bumper sticker: whole milk heals.
Amen. That's right. Yeah. That's what they say. I think it's probably true. Anybody else?
Well, Mr. President, as Chairman of the Education and Workforce Committee, this fits, with the kids, with what they can enjoy in school and grow from. Also to have G.T. Thompson, sponsor the bill, on that committee, and I think I've worked with you for 15 years, but we finally got it done in committee. This makes an impact for education, for our workforce, the health that's there, and the reality of what this farming industry does. I live in the most diverse farm district in Michigan. Thanks for coming to Michigan yesterday.
It was great.
And my kids were raised on, it's legal now, raw milk, taken right out of the bulk tank. And my oldest son became a Pulitzer-nominated journalist for the Chicago Tribune, and I think the milk did it, right? I think so. Then I have the benefit of Dr. Carson being a graduate of Andrews University in my district. So all of that goes together. Thank you for signing this. It'll make a difference.
Great job. So how about a couple of the farmers? Would anybody like to speak? Would you like to? Do you want to just say how great milk is?
It's so amazing.
Yes, Mr. President, we want to say thank you for doing this. It's been stated several times how long this took, and so thank you for your support and leadership in finally making this happen. As a mom and a dairy farmer, this isn't just a big win for the dairy farm families across the country, but as it's been said, the millions of school-age kids that depend on school lunches for their nutrition and to fuel their bodies. So thank you.
So they've been fighting this for years then, huh?
15 years.
Well, have you
Before
been
these
fighting
kids.
it? You're too young to be fighting it. Have you been fighting it for that long?
For a while, we've been fighting it. I mean, I think I speak for everybody. It's been a long time coming, so your leadership is it.
Well, it's great. I had no idea you were. It just seems to make sense, right? Hard to believe. When you said 15 years, I said, you have to be kidding. It's government is tough. Government can be very tough. How about you? Would you like to say something?
So we are very grateful and thankful that you passed this bill because it is common sense as to what we should be consuming. Right. Whole foods and whole milk. Unfortunately, that has not been the case for a few years. But research shows and our MAHA movements have been taking the right steps to make America healthy. And our children are growing into active teenagers and athletes. And what do they need? They need strong bones, they need the energy, they need the healthy muscles. And so we are so grateful that the science is there and we are actually at the right point and the right step making sure America is healthy. So we are very thankful.
It's so great. I look forward to getting it all the time. Sometimes I open a refrigerator and I say milk with rice and milk with water and milk with everything, and I say, what kind of milk is it? That's what I like right there. That's great. Thank you very much. Beautiful. Please, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Patrice Anluca. I am the Center Director at the Independent Women's Forum. I work on economic policies,
Right.
but I'm also a mom of boys, as you can see. This is Jesse. Jesse, you want to say your name and age?
My name is Jesse. I am 6 years old. I am 7 years old. I want to be an engineer when I grow up. I am a first grader. I also know where does milk come from.
Good job.
Where does it come from?
So first farmers milk it, and then next they put it into a coal tank, and then they to take the germs out, they put it very hot, and then they put it back in the cold tank, and then they haul it to somewhere that is cold in a big refrigerator.
What, that is unbelievable. I'm going to give him a medal. Everybody, these guys want it. Let me tell you, politicians want it. I'm going to give that to you. Is that okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. That's
and
beautiful.
This is Daniel,
Wow.
his younger brother. Daniel, how old are you?
5.
And what grade are you in?
For kindergarten.
Kindergarten. And these boys are involved in sports. They go to a public school in the Maryland area, and many of their friends are drinking the kind of options that they don't really like. And so it's good that as they get to drink a glass of milk every morning, their friends will be able to drink that at school as well. So thank you very much for what you're doing for public school kids in particular.
Beautiful people. Thank you very much. Doing a great job too.
Thank you.
Please.
I'm Amber Schwartz. I'm also with Independent Women, but I'm here with my son, Luke, who is 13 years old. We're in Alexandria, Virginia. Luke needs a lot of protein right now to grow. In fact, his doctor just told us between 60 and 70 grams a week. And I can't feed him a whole chicken every day, so supplementing with milk is really helping us. Unfortunately, at school, they've offered skim milk and chocolate, and he does not like either. And so he has been turning to the juice boxes and other drinks that have sugar. And so thank you for giving him the opportunity, and parents too, to make a choice.
That's great. That's really great. How about you?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm
Nice,
the one.
beautiful red hair.
Yeah. I tried to match here, so.
Yes.
But I'm the aforementioned one from Butler, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
So you know that place very well, and we still love you. So,
Thank you.
But Mr. President, I was thinking last night when I was milking what I was going to say, and I thought, well, this is such a monumental day in agriculture, not just dairy farmers, but for all of agriculture, because this helps me as a producer, helps the processors. It also helps these kids here. So it's good all around, and this is perfect legislation, a great day for America is what this is.
Thank you very much. Beautifully said, and we appreciate it. And it is a great place that you come from. I love it. Please.
Mr. President, thank you. It's an honor to be here, and I think this is about choices. This day's been a long time coming. We've been waiting on this for many years, and it's great that we're able to provide choices now in schools with whole milk. Well, thank you for that, and thank you for everything that you do for the dairy industry. That us dairy farmers produce valuable nutrients every day for consumers.
So you're going to need to produce more milk because you're not mixing it up with all sorts of things, right?
That's right.
That's great. That's a big. How much of an increase will that be? Do you have any idea?
Pretty good.
A lot more.
A lot more. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's great, boy. That's so good for the industry.
Absolutely.
Hard to believe you had to wait so long.
Yep. So thank you.
Would you like to say
Mr. President, I'd like to thank you again for your support behind this, and the gentleman standing behind you. Like you said, we worked 15 years on it. I advocate for our industry a lot out in the community, and I know I've been into high schools, I've been in middle schools where the students want milk. I did a taste test one time at a high school where we gave them whole milk versus the skim milk their school was giving them. The kids love the whole milk. So just your all support behind us, your support getting it pushed through, I really appreciate what you've done and what the gentleman behind you were able to do.
We support the farmer.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The farmer knows what's right better than anybody else. Bobby would tell you that. I mean, the farmer, they know what's right.
Yes, sir.
Especially when it comes to things like this. Sorry it took so long. It was 15 years. I can't believe it. Howard, would you like to say something?
What's amazing is that the president has the leadership and common sense to drive the right outcomes. Why should kids not be given the choice to drink whole milk? How is that even possible? So it's amazing to work for you because you just own common sense and you're driving it through our economy, you're driving it through the farmers. You've got great leadership in Secretary Rollins and Secretary Kennedy, and it's great fun to be here because, I mean, think of it today. I mean, how much fun is this? It's just common sense. Come on.
Like the Oval Office.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful.
Even the media, they come here, they're here a lot, but it's sort of like you're in the Oval Office. It's the whole ballgame. It all begins and ends and then re-begins here. There is no place like it, right?
Yes,
Isn't that exciting? There's no place like it. If you love the country especially, there's no place like it. So thank you. Thank you, Howard, very much. So let's sign it. Should I sign it?
Yes, sir.
Your last chance. I could. Maybe you go another 15 years. Right? Let's do it. Do it?
You go stand right there.
Come on, right over here.
Jesse, come on.
We have to do a good one here. This is right?
Yes, sir.
This is an important one for me. Okay, not bad. Not bad. Which signed by AutoPen. So you can never make a mistake. They made a lot of mistakes. Anyway, here it is. Thank you. Thank you all very much. You have it?
Thank you.
Thank
you.
I'm going to start drinking a lot of milk.
We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much. That's great. You hold that on for a little while. You'll give it to us later, okay? It's a good job you did. That's great. So, any questions on what we just signed?
Mr. President, on Iran, Mr. President,
Yeah, let's talk about this.
I've got one in the milk. Coming from a family, my dad was a dairy engineer from Texas Tech
So you're a
University.
big, strong guy.
There he is. Drink lots of whole milk in my day. Would you look at this as being a shift from what the industry kind of went woke with the oat milk and the almond
It's
milk?
going the exact, it's amazing.
It's going exactly the opposite direction. Let's talk about the impact of dairy farmers on this whole thing.
There are a lot of changes being made in the last year. As you know, we're still a little bit less than a year. I think there's probably never been a year like this for a president or for a country. We have tremendous success. We've had success with everything we've done. And the economy now is coming back. And here's an example of farmers. They're going to be working harder to produce because it's not going to be watered down by something. And it's great to see it. And if you'd like a zip of that, I'd give it to you. It's actually been here. It's only been here for a few minutes before we started. It's not 5 days. 5 days and open, right? No, it's not. But it's an honor. What we've done in the country in the last year, it's incredible. All of us together. It's incredible. So I appreciate the question.
Mr. President, Ron, you said that the killing has stopped. Who told you that the killings have stopped there? And if it's the Iranian regime?
We have been informed by very important sources on the other side, and they've said the killing has stopped and the executions won't take place. There was supposed to be a lot of executions today, and that the executions won't take place. And we're going to find out. I mean, I'll find out after this. You'll find out. But we've been told on good authority, and I hope it's true. Who knows, right? Who knows?
We've
Crazy
seen body
world.
bags, so how do you trust them?
You've seen that over the last few days, and they said people were shooting at them with guns, and they were shooting back, and you know, it's one of those things. But they told me that there'll be no executions, and so I hope that's true.
Does this mean military action is now off the table against Iran?
Well, we're going to watch and see what the process is, but we were given a very good statement by people that are aware of what's going on.
Is that considering military action? Is that still a threat?
No executions. Everybody's talking about a lot of executions were taking place today. We were just told no executions. I hope that's true. That's a big thing. Yes, ma'am.
The Foreign Minister of Greenland, she said a while ago in a press conference in an embassy of Denmark that she made very clear in the meeting that happened here in the White House what are their limits. She also said that it was a very respectful meeting. Are those limits going to be respected?
Well, we're going to see what happens with Greenland. We need Greenland for national security, so we're going to see what happens. They're going to brief me on the meeting right after this conference. In fact, the sooner I get you out, the faster I'm going to know exactly what happened. But we have a very good relationship with Denmark, as you know. We'll see. But, you know, we're doing the Golden Dome. We're doing a lot of things, and we really need it. If we don't go in, Russia's going to go in, and China's going to go in. And there's not a thing that Denmark can do about it, but we can do everything
There's
about it.
no more than what they can do than
Well, we're going to see. I mean, look, we're going to see what happens, but we need it. You know, I'm not the first one. This was talked about by President Truman, and 40 years before President Truman, they were talking about it. They've been talking about this for 100 years. This is not anything so new. A lot of people don't realize that, but this was a hot subject, probably not as hot as it is now, but it was a hot subject for a long time. We need it for national security, and that includes for Europe. And I spoke with, as you know, Mark, the head of NATO, and he really wants to see something happen. It's very
It's being reported that Health and Human Services released frozen funds to Planned Parenthood. I'm wondering why this happened and why Planned Parenthood is receiving any federal
I don't know
funds.
anything about that. Bobby, do you know anything about that?
What was the question?
It's being reported that frozen funds were released to Planned Parenthood in December by HHS. I'm wondering why that happened.
I have
not heard that.
I have not heard that.
Mr. President, on NATO, right now it sounds like you are saying that you would potentially acquire Greenland by force. That would be a NATO country.
You're saying that.
Are you saying that? Would you do that?
No,
by
you're
force?
saying that.
Would you acquire them by
say
force
that.
right
No, you're
now?
telling me that that's what I'm going to do. You don't know what I'm going to do.
So what are the options?
Your
then?
network
Because
doesn't know
the Danish foreign minister said that there's still fundamental differences after the meeting with Rubio and with the vice president. Are you willing to leave the NATO alliance in order to get what you want with Greenland? What are the options right
Well, I
now?
wouldn't be telling you what I'm willing to do, certainly. I'm not going to give up options, but it's very important. Greenland's very important for the national security, including of Denmark. And the problem is not a thing that Denmark can do about it if Russia or China wants to occupy Greenland. But there's everything we can do. You found that out last week with Venezuela. There's everything we can do about things such as that. Not going to happen. We're not, I can't rely on Denmark being able to fend themselves off. They were talking about they put an extra dog, and they were serious about this. They put an extra dog sled there last month. They added a second dog sled. That's not going to do the trick.
Denmark fought alongside the United States in both Afghanistan and Iraq.
I appreciate it.
But
I have a very good relationship
they're
with
an
Denmark,
ally.
and we'll see how it all works out. I think something will work out. Yeah.
Mr. President. Venezuela, Cabello, the de facto number 2 in Venezuela right now, he seemed pretty reluctant to work with the U.S. And obviously he's
They just gave us 50 million barrels of oil.
the number 2, the Venezuela security chief.
I know the number 1, we just had a great conversation today. And she's a terrific person. I mean, she's somebody that we've worked with very well. Marco Rubio is dealing with her. I dealt with her this morning. We had a long call. We discussed a lot of things, and I think we're getting along very well with Venezuela. Yes.
Mr. President, you created a new Assistant Attorney General position dedicated to rooting out fraud in the United
It's
States.
fantastic. The person is fantastic.
Who is it?
It's a he.
When are you
I
going
will
to
tell you maybe within minutes. I mean, I don't know if it's appropriate to say yet because we're going through a process, but we have chosen a person who's very tough, very smart, very fair.
You gave a speech yesterday in Michigan about how you recalibrated the American economy to work for workers, U.S. auto factories. We've seen core inflation's completely tamed. You lowered the trade deficit to the lowest amount since 2009. American exports are growing, but we're also waiting on the Supreme Court case for the tariffs. Given the success that you've had in the first 12 months, what is at stake in this case, sir?
It's a little bit like whole milk. I can't believe we even have a case. This was a case started by very China-centric people and also anti-American people, frankly, people that don't want us to do well. Tariffs have helped us stop 8 wars. They've helped us get the best trade numbers we've ever had. They've helped us get $18 trillion brought into the country. And maybe above all else, they've given us tremendous national security. Just the threat of tariffs. You saw that just yesterday when I put tariffs on a certain country. We won't talk about that country, but you know who it is. Based on the fact that if you do business with that country, it's going to make them, it's going to bring them to the table a lot faster. So we have made hundreds of billions of dollars with tariffs. We have very little inflation. Think of it. Inflation's gone down and productivity, everything has gone up. We've never taken in money like we have. We've never had anywhere near $18 trillion invested in our country, neither has any other country. It's the biggest number by maybe 5 times. 5 times, not 5%, 5 times. Nobody's ever seen numbers like this. We have plants going up. You mentioned I was in Michigan yesterday. I was at the Ford plant where they make the Ford 150. It's one of the original plants. It was from before World War I. It's a giant plant. That plant was probably going to be closed. And 2 years ago, they were doing very poorly. And now they just announced yesterday that they're going to go 24 hours around the clock. 3 shifts, which they rarely do. That's Ford, and Ford's having the best numbers they've ever had. General Motors having the best numbers they've ever had. Stellantis, which hasn't been here, is now investing billions, tens of billions of dollars on building in the country. We're building auto plants all over the country. We're building AI all over the country. We're leading China by a lot, and a lot of it has to do with tariffs. That would be a very disappointing decision, and especially since the people that are fighting me are people that want China to do well. And we're doing great against China. We're doing great against everybody. We're the hottest country anywhere in the world. As I say often, we're right now the hottest country anywhere in the world, and a year and a half ago we were a dead country. Thank you very much, everybody.
Let's go. So to echo the words of farmers and ranchers and United States senators and the cabinet there, Secretary Kennedy and Secretary Rollins, Dr. Ben Carson, Secretary Lutnick as well, joining the President of the United States. And how interesting is it to actually deflect from and to dismantle truly the initiatives of, again, the neoliberals and the neocons and people like Michelle Obama, who did not want your children to have access to whole milk while the Obamas were in office. How interesting is that? That a neurosurgeon, I'd go with his look and take on things, Dr. Ben Carson, saying how important it is to have those real fats and nutrients and a healthy source of protein, and to not criminalize protein, as Secretary Kennedy has said, when it comes to the development of that most very important organ in your body, the brain, as it can develop all the way through 25 to 29 as well. So young children on the docket today with President Trump to feature this bill signing. So a big win for farming, a big win for the American rancher, and common sense, once again, as Secretary Lutnick said today. As we close out this broadcast, thank you for joining us this Wednesday, January 14th on the right side of history. I'm Robert McNeely. For all of my colleagues here at RSBN, you have a wonderful day, and God bless you and yours. We will see you tomorrow.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.